Across the vast timeline of human history, our ancestors left behind monuments, carvings, and relics that whisper of knowledge long forgotten. Yet some of these discoveries defy logic. Artifacts that shouldn't exist, structures too advanced for their time, and symbols that seem to reach beyond the limits of what we know. How did ancient civilizations move stones weighing hundreds of tons without modern machines? Why do cultures oceans apart share the same cosmic patterns and myths? And what truths might be buried beneath the sands, waiting to rewrite everything we think we understand about our past? Archaeologists uncover evidence. Scientists propose theories. But some questions refuse to be answered, lingering like echoes from another world, taunting us with the possibility that we are missing something monumental. Tonight, we journey into the strange and the unexplained, the mysteries that refuse to stay buried. So sit back, open your mind, and let's dive into the most baffling archaeological enigmas still unsolved. Beneath the blazing sun of central Mexico, the ancient city of Teotihuacan stretches out like a stone tapestry woven by forgotten hands. Its immense boulevards, silent plazas, and towering pyramids seem to hum with the echoes of a civilization that once ruled this valley long before the rise of the Aztecs. Among these ruins stands one of the most haunting and intricate structures in Mesoamerican history, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. At first glance, the temple, known today as the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, seems almost alive. Its facade is a riot of sculpted stone. Rows of serpent heads jut from the walls, each crowned with carved feathers that ripple across the ancient surface. Their mouths gape wide, fangs bared, as though guarding some secret deep within the temple's heart. Between them, seashells and sacred symbols are embedded in the stone, perhaps offerings to gods of water and sky. It is both mesmerizing and unsettling, a masterpiece of divine geometry and fierce devotion. Archaeologists tell us the structure was built around the 3rd century CE, at the height of Teotihuacan's power. By then, this was one of the largest cities in the world, home to perhaps 100,000 people. Traders, artisans, priests, and pilgrims filled its streets, their lives unfolding under the shadow of the massive pyramids of the sun and the moon. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, smaller but far more intricate, likely held immense ritual importance. Its dedication to the feathered serpent, known later as Quetzalcoatl, suggests a worship of balance, sky and earth, creation and destruction, knowledge and chaos intertwined. But beneath the temple's beauty lies something darker. In the 1980s, excavations revealed more than 200 skeletons buried within its foundations, mostly young men, many wearing elaborate jewelry and ornaments, all apparently sacrificed in a single dramatic ceremony. Their hands were bound, obsidian blades lay nearby. Some scholars believe they were warriors offered to consecrate the pyramid, their deaths symbolizing renewal and divine power. Others suggest something more complex, a political ritual meant to unify the city through fear and reverence. Yet for all these discoveries, the temple still resists full understanding. Unlike the Aztecs or Maya, the people of Teotihuacan left no written record of who they were or why they built their monuments. Their language, their rulers, even their name for their own city, all have been lost to time. What remains are the stones themselves, etched with symbols whose meanings flicker between known and unknowable. In recent decades, technology has peeled back new layers of this enigma. In 2003, heavy rains opened a sinkhole near the base of the temple. When archaeologists investigated, they discovered a hidden tunnel, sealed for nearly 1,800 years, running deep beneath the pyramid. Inside, they found walls dusted with pyrite and hematite, creating the illusion of a glittering underworld. There were carved statues, strange spheres coated in metallic residue, and traces of mercury shimmering like liquid silver. What was this subterranean world for? Some believe it represented the mythic underworld of Mesoamerican cosmology, a place of death and rebirth, where rulers communed with gods. Others wonder if it was used for initiation rites or astronomical observations. And then there are those who speculate more boldly that the tunnel might have been a kind of machine for the soul, designed to simulate a journey through death into divine transformation. As new discoveries emerged, the mysteries only deepened. Why was the tunnel sealed so carefully? Why did its builders go to such lengths to coat the walls in reflective minerals, creating a dreamlike, otherworldly glow? Was this meant to imitate the heavens, or to communicate with something beyond them? Mainstream archaeology offers logical explanations grounded in ritual symbolism and cosmological design, but the precision of Teotihuacan's layout, the way its streets align with celestial events, its pyramids mirroring constellations, has inspired more speculative theories. Some suggest the city's planners possessed advanced astronomical knowledge, perhaps inherited from a civilization even older than we know. Others whisper of legends describing gods descending from the sky, teaching the first builders how to read the stars. And while such theories stretch beyond evidence, they persist for a reason. There is something undeniably deliberate, almost mathematical, about Teotihuacan's design. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent seems not merely built, but tuned, a stone instrument calibrated to the cosmos. When viewed from above, the city resembles a map of the heavens. When explored within, it feels like a descent into the human subconscious itself. Even the identity of the feathered serpent remains fluid. To later cultures, Quetzalcoatl was a bringer of wisdom, a god of creation and learning. But in Teotihuacan, the symbol may have meant something else entirely, perhaps a fusion of earthbound serpent and celestial bird, representing the bridge between the mortal and the divine. It may have embodied transformation, or power, or the very idea of civilization itself. We can only guess. Standing before the temple today, it is easy to feel the weight of both presence and absence, the grandeur of what remains and the silence of what is gone. The air seems charged, as if the stones remember. Tourists walk its steps, cameras in hand, yet few realize they tread upon layers of history still only half uncovered. Beneath them, the sealed tunnels still whisper with unanswered questions. What were the builders trying to say to the future? Were they recording cosmic truths, or reaching toward something beyond human understanding? Could the answers still lie buried in the untouched chambers beneath the temple, waiting for the right discovery to bring them back into the light? For now, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent keeps its secrets. Its stone faces stare endlessly into the sun, guardians of a story only partly told, a story that invites us to look closer, to listen more deeply, and to wonder what truths about our past remain hidden just beneath the surface of the earth. As we leave behind the ancient city of Teotihuacan, with its stone serpents and cosmic alignments, our journey continues south, across deserts and mountain ranges, into the arid expanse of southern Peru. Here, where the earth itself seems scorched by centuries of silence, lies another mystery that has captivated scientists, skeptics, and believers alike. This is the Nazca region, a landscape etched with vast geoglyphs so large they can only be seen from the sky. For decades, these enigmatic lines have drawn endless theories, astronomical calendars, ritual pathways, or even ancient runways for visitors from beyond. But in recent years, another, even stranger discovery has emerged from this same desert, one that has reignited old questions about what may still be buried beneath the sands. They are known simply as the Nazca mummies. At first glance, they seem like relics from a forgotten burial site, small, desiccated bodies wrapped in linen and coated in white powder. Yet something about them immediately defies expectation. Their heads are elongated, their faces narrow and pointed. Most striking of all, many appear to have only 3 long fingers on each hand and foot, their bones thin and unnervingly symmetrical. Photographs and videos of these figures spread quickly across the world, sparking both fascination and disbelief. The story began around 2015 when local grave hunters, huaqueros, claimed to have uncovered the bodies in the dry caves near Nazca. Soon after, Peruvian researchers and independent investigators were shown what they described as non-human remains. Some specimens appeared humanoid, others distinctly miniature, with large oval skulls and delicate rib cages. For those who first saw them, it was like something out of myth, an encounter with beings that didn't quite belong to human history. But beneath the excitement lay a difficult question. What exactly were these mummies? Were they ancient hoaxes, modern fabrications, or genuine archaeological finds that challenge our understanding of early civilizations in Peru? The initial examinations revealed intriguing contradictions. Radiocarbon dating on some samples suggested an age of roughly 1,000 to 1,700 years, placing them within the time frame of the Nazca culture itself. Yet their anatomy didn't match anything known from that period. CT scans revealed distinct skeletal structures, but interpretations varied. Some experts argued the bodies had been assembled from human and animal bones, cleverly modified to create something extraordinary. Others, including certain forensic specialists, claimed the structures were too consistent, too seamless to be forgeries. The Peruvian government soon intervened, expressing concern over the handling and possible trafficking of cultural heritage. Official archaeologists criticized the lack of proper excavation records and the damage caused by amateur diggers. Still, tests continued, some sanctioned, others conducted independently in laboratories across the world. One of the most debated specimens, known as Maria, stood nearly 5 feet tall, her body remarkably intact. Her elongated skull and 3-fingered hands were unlike any known human variation. According to some DNA analyses, portions of her genetic sequence matched modern humans, while others appeared anomalous or unidentifiable. But skeptics cautioned that contamination and incomplete sequencing could easily explain such discrepancies. Even so, the question lingered. If these mummies were fake, who created them, and why with such precision? And if they were real, what could they represent? The Nazca people themselves were skilled artisans and engineers, capable of extraordinary feats of geometry and ritual art. They practiced complex burial customs and crafted mummies that still astonish researchers today. Some scholars suggest that the so-called non-human features might result from cultural practices, cranial deformation, for instance, which elongated skulls for aesthetic or spiritual reasons. Could the 3-fingered hands be the result of natural degradation, or perhaps intentional modification for ritual symbolism? Others look deeper, to myths that thread through Andean cosmology. The Nazca, like many ancient cultures, told stories of beings who came from the sky, deities connected to stars and celestial forces. Could these tales be metaphors for the same beings these mummies seem to resemble? Or are we simply seeing the convergence of imagination, faith, and the natural process of decay through the lens of modern fascination? The debate has not faded. In 2023, new footage emerged showing what were claimed to be additional mummified figures, this time presented to Mexico's Congress. Once again, experts were divided. Some dismissed the remains as crude hoaxes assembled from animal parts. Others, citing CT scans and bone analyses, insisted the structures were biologically coherent. Each new claim rekindled both wonder and skepticism, leaving the line between science and speculation blurred. For every laboratory test that suggests human origin, another raises anomalies. For every debunking statement, there remains an unanswered observation. Consistent bone articulation, internal organs still visible in scans, or the strange, preserved skin tissue showing no clear signs of reconstruction. It's as though the desert itself refuses to yield a simple answer. Perhaps the greater mystery lies not just in the bodies themselves, but in what they reveal about human perception. Why are we so compelled by the idea that something non-human might once have walked among us? Is it a longing for connection, to believe that our ancestors were not alone in their search for meaning? Or is it a reflection of how little we truly know about the civilizations that came before? Standing in the Nazca Desert, the wind moving softly over endless sand, it's easy to feel that question stir. The geoglyphs stretch across the landscape like messages written to the sky, while below ground, hidden tombs and tunnels hint at worlds still undiscovered. Were these beings symbols, spiritual representations of gods, ancestors, or visitors from the stars? Or could they be remnants of rituals we no longer understand, shaped by belief and time into forms that now seem alien to us? Science continues to test, to measure, to explain. But even now, the Nazca mummies exist in a liminal space, half artifact, half enigma. They invite us to confront the boundaries of what we accept as real, to question how much of the ancient world remains veiled beneath the sands. Somewhere out there, more remains may still lie buried, untouched by modern hands. If they do, they may finally provide answers, or deepen the mystery even further. For now, the desert keeps its silence. The wind moves softly through the dunes, erasing footprints, guarding secrets older than memory. And the figures, those strange, fragile bodies with eyes forever closed, remain as they have for centuries, still, timeless, and waiting for the truth to be seen. As we leave behind the arid plains of Nazca, where enigmatic mummies hint at secrets yet to be fully understood, our journey turns eastward, across continents, into the rolling hills and lush landscapes of South Africa. Here, amid the green slopes and winding rivers of Mpumalanga, there lies a curious landmark that has perplexed locals and travelers alike for generations: the giant footprint of Mpaluzi. Nestled in a stretch of rock near the banks of the Mpaluzi River, this footprint is enormous, far larger than any human foot could ever leave. Carved into sandstone and remarkably well preserved, its contours are unmistakably anatomical. 5 toes, an arch, and a heel are clearly visible, each groove deep enough to cast shadow in the afternoon sun. The rock surrounding it bears scratches and indentations, as if the footprint were pressed with enormous weight, a silent echo frozen in stone. Local legends speak of its origin with reverence. Elders recount tales of sky people or colossal beings who once roamed the land, leaving traces too large to be attributed to ordinary humans. Some claim the footprint is a remnant of a giant who walked the earth before recorded history. Others tell stories that connect it to early tribes' creation myths, suggesting it was left as a warning, a blessing, or a reminder of forces far beyond mortal comprehension. Scientific observers, however, approach the site with caution. The footprint's location in sedimentary rock has sparked debates about its age and formation. Some geologists argue that it could be a natural erosional formation, a pseudofossil, created over millennia by water, wind, and the gradual settling of minerals. Yet, when viewed from above, the imprint is so strikingly humanoid that many find the purely natural explanation difficult to accept. Its proportions, symmetry, and the delicate curve of the arch suggest intent, as though someone, or something, deliberately left a mark in the rock for posterity. The history of its documentation adds another layer of intrigue. Reports of the footprint date back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, recorded by explorers, surveyors, and local officials. Early photographs show that the imprint remained largely untouched for decades, yet with each passing year, erosion and human curiosity have threatened to alter its shape. Scholars who have examined it carefully note that while erosion affects the surface, the overall form retains its uncanny precision. Could it be a natural formation that coincidentally resembles a foot? Or is there something else at work, something older, larger, and more deliberate? Some researchers have drawn connections between the Mpaluzi footprint and other so-called giant footprints scattered across the globe, from the Blue Mountains of Australia to parts of North America. Could these be echoes of a shared human memory, a record of beings once taller than any we recognize today? Or might they point to a prehistoric race, lost to time, whose existence left only faint traces in stone? The lack of corroborating skeletal evidence leaves these questions tantalizingly open. Adding to the mystery, local folklore is peppered with references to unusual sightings near the site. Farmers and hikers have reported feeling watched, hearing deep, resonant footsteps in the hills at night, and seeing shadows that move against the wind. While skeptics attribute these stories to imagination or misperception, the consistency of accounts across generations is striking. How much of our world might we fail to notice simply because we are too small to perceive it? Geologists who have studied the sandstone have noted that the footprint's depth corresponds to immense pressure, far beyond what would be expected from a human or even a large animal. Its preservation is aided by the unique properties of the rock, which hardened at just the right moment to resist erosion. Yet the just right conditions, perfect for preserving a detailed footprint of this size, seem almost too precise, raising more questions than answers. Speculative theories abound. Some fringe researchers suggest that it is evidence of ancient giants, as described in biblical and mythological texts. Others propose it could be a ceremonial carving, created as a monument or spiritual marker intended to honor a deity or ancestral figure. A few even ponder extraterrestrial influence, invoking the possibility that beings with physical forms unlike our own once walked the earth. None of these ideas have been substantiated, yet each adds to the aura of mystery that surrounds the footprint. Walking the site today, it is easy to sense the weight of time. The Mpaluzi River winds past, its waters whispering against the banks, and the hills rise like silent sentinels. The footprint lies embedded in the rock, seemingly frozen mid-step, inviting contemplation. One cannot help but wonder, was this truly left by a living being, a creature whose size defies imagination? Or is it the work of natural forces perfectly aligned over millennia? The human mind searches for patterns, for meaning in the extraordinary. The Mpaluzi footprint forces that search to confront uncertainty. It challenges assumptions about scale, about history, and about what our ancestors and the earth itself might have witnessed. Could this imprint be a warning left for future generations, a record of an event too enormous to describe in words? Or is it simply one more enigmatic formation, a fleeting intersection of natural phenomena and human imagination? For now, the footprint remains. Its grooves capture sunlight in shifting angles, its outlines stark against the sandstone, and its presence continues to draw the curious, the skeptical, and the imaginative. Like many of the mysteries we have encountered on this journey, from the towering pyramids of Mexico to the preserved mummies of Nazca, the Mpaluzi footprint reminds us of how much remains unseen, unknown, and possibly unfathomable. The hills remain quiet, the river flows onward, and the imprint endures, inviting us to pause, to observe, and to consider the possibility that the earth still holds stories far larger than we can imagine, stories whose footsteps, perhaps, are still walking among us. As the winds of South Africa fade behind us, and the Mpaluzi footprint lingers in memory like a silent question pressed into stone. Our journey turns northward across continents once again, to the rolling plains and gentle forests of Central Europe. Here, in the heart of what is now Germany, lies a prehistoric site whose simple geometry conceals layers of complexity and mystery, the Goseck Circle. From above, the Goseck Circle is breathtaking in its simplicity. A near-perfect circle of ditches and palisades, punctuated by carefully positioned gateways that align with the rising and setting sun at the solstices. The earth itself seems to have been shaped with intent, forming an open-air monument to phenomena that the builders clearly observed with meticulous care. Walk along its perimeter today, and the circle feels both familiar and alien, a quiet whisper from a world long vanished, its purpose obscured by the passage of millennia. Archaeologists date the Goseck Circle to around 4,900 BCE, placing it among the oldest known solar observatories in Europe. It predates the Stonehenge megaliths by more than 1,000 years, and suggests a society already deeply attuned to the cycles of the sun and the rhythms of the seasons. Yet the sophistication of its design raises questions. How did a community, still in the early stages of the Neolithic, conceive of such precise astronomical alignments? What knowledge guided their hands as they dug ditches, erected wooden posts, and carved their living landscape into a reflection of the cosmos? Mainstream research paints the circle as a ceremonial site, a place for ritual observances linked to the sun and agricultural cycles. The entrances, oriented toward solstices, imply an awareness of celestial patterns that would have dictated planting and harvesting schedules, an early calendar embedded into the landscape itself. Bones found within nearby pits suggest offerings, perhaps sacrifices, hinting at a spiritual or religious dimension to the structure. Yet for all these measured interpretations, questions remain. The sheer scale of the labor required to construct the Goseck Circle suggests social organization and collective effort beyond what we typically imagine for small Neolithic communities. Who led such projects? How was the knowledge passed down? And why did the builders select this precise location on an unassuming hill amid forests and fields for a monument whose significance is still only partially understood? The alignment with the solstices is undeniable, but some researchers have observed additional patterns, subtle angles that hint at the rising of specific stars or the tracking of lunar cycles. Could this have been more than a calendar? Some theorists propose that the circle served as a site of astronomical observation, a proto-astronomical laboratory where early humans recorded movements of the heavens. Others suggest it may have been a meeting place for ritual, trade, and cultural exchange, blending science and spirituality in ways we can only guess at. The wooden posts that once formed its palisade are long gone, reduced to post holes beneath the soil, yet their pattern speaks across time. There is a precision here that suggests not randomness, but intention. In a way, the circle itself feels alive, an echo of observation and devotion, a dialogue between humans and the sun, captured in earth and timber. And yet, without written records, the full story remains beyond reach. Some fringe theories stretch even further. A few propose that the circle's design encoded knowledge now lost, an advanced understanding of celestial mechanics, or perhaps even a symbolic representation of cosmological truths. Others imagine ritual practices so sophisticated that they prefigure the religious structures of later civilizations. While these ideas are speculative, they underscore the sense of wonder the site inspires. That even at the dawn of organized human society, our ancestors were capable of both practical observation and profound symbolic thinking. Walking the Goseck Circle today, one is struck by its quiet authority. Unlike a pyramid or a stone monument, It imposes no grandeur of scale. It commands attention through precision, through alignment, through the way the land itself has been subtly reshaped to reflect the sky. Standing at one of the solstice gateways, one can imagine the first light of dawn illuminating the posts, casting long shadows across the ditches, and hear the collective breath of a community attuned to the world around them. It is both humbling and disorienting, a reminder that human curiosity and ingenuity have long preceded the written record, leaving traces that speak in silence. The Goseck Circle, like the Mpaluzi footprint or the mummies of Nazca, exists in a liminal space between the known and the unknown. We can date it, map it, and study its geometry, but we cannot step fully into the minds of its creators. Why did they build it with such precision? What rituals unfolded here? What truths did they hope to capture or commune with in the arc of the sun? For centuries, the earth has reclaimed much of the circle, softening its edges, filling its ditches, and masking its original scale. Yet it persists, a deliberate mark on the landscape, challenging our assumptions about the people who shaped it. It calls us to wonder not only at what they observed, but at what they imagined. An intangible legacy of thought, devotion, and curiosity. And so, the Goseck Circle remains, both simple and profound, a testament to human ingenuity and a silent puzzle whose pieces are scattered across time. Standing within its perimeter, one cannot help but sense the rhythm of ages, the steady pulse of the sun, and the quiet insistence that some knowledge, no matter how ancient, continues to beckon us to explore, to question, and to dream. What exactly were the builders trying to achieve? Did they see the same universe we do, or something entirely different? And how much more might still be hidden, waiting beneath layers of soil, waiting for the day when human curiosity and discovery intersect once more? For now, the circle waits, patient, enigmatic, and eternal. Its story is not fully told, and perhaps it never will be, but in its quiet perfection, it invites us to look up, to observe, and to wonder. As we leave the quiet precision of the Goseck Circle behind, where humans shaped the earth itself to mirror the movement of the sun, our journey turns across oceans and continents to the remote islands of Micronesia. Here, amidst the turquoise waters and swaying palms of the Pohnpei archipelago, lies a place that defies expectation, a city built not on solid ground, but upon a labyrinth of artificial islets rising from the sea, the ancient city of Madol. From a distance, Madol appears as a scattered network of dark stone platforms, each connected by narrow canals that shimmer like veins of liquid glass. The city stretches across more than 90 small islands, carefully arranged in a grid-like pattern, giving the impression of an architectural plan conceived on a scale both precise and daring. Towering walls of basalt rise from the water, some over 20 feet high, stacked in a way that seems almost impossible for a civilization that arrived long before modern machinery. The stones themselves, some weighing several tons, pose an immediate question. How were they transported, lifted, and arranged with such exactness across shifting tidal channels? Historical records are scarce. Local legends tell of the Saudolur dynasty, rulers who wielded immense power and were said to have been of divine descent. According to oral history, they established Madol as both a political and spiritual capital, a place where rulers could demonstrate authority through the sheer audacity of construction. Archaeological evidence supports the existence of grand ceremonial structures, residential compounds, and tombs, yet the city was eventually abandoned, leaving only ruins to mark its place in time. Modern researchers have marveled at the city's engineering. The basalt columns were quarried from sites miles away, then transported to the lagoon, where they were shaped and stacked without mortar. Some suggest sophisticated methods using log rollers, rafts, or primitive cranes, but no definitive records or remnants of the tools have been found. Could a society without metal machinery really have moved such massive stones across water and assembled them into structures that have endured centuries of storms, earthquakes, and tides? The layout of Nan Madol itself provokes further questions. The city is divided into nearly 100 small islets, each with a specific purpose: ceremonial, administrative, or residential. Narrow canals separate the islands, making the city resemble a miniature Venice of the Pacific. But why construct such a labyrinthine network? Was it purely practical, to control movement and access, or did it hold a deeper symbolic or spiritual meaning? Some scholars suggest that the water channels represented veins or lifelines, connecting rulers to the sea and sky, reinforcing their divine authority. Others propose that the islets were designed to harness tidal flows, creating a functional aquatic infrastructure centuries ahead of its time. Excavations have revealed human burials and artifacts, yet much remains unexplained. The massive coral limestone foundations, the perfectly stacked basalt, and the sheer scale of the city suggest a workforce far larger than one might expect for a Pacific Island society of the time. How was labor organized? Were there hierarchies or ritualized obligations? And what drove a civilization to commit so much effort to a city that, despite its grandeur, was ultimately abandoned? Even more intriguing are the mysteries that lie beyond engineering and logistics. Some researchers have noted unusual patterns in the city's orientation, with certain structures aligning to celestial events, much like Goseck Circle or other ancient observatories. Could Nan Madol have been a hybrid of political, religious, and astronomical functions, designed to reflect the cosmos in stone and water? Was the placement of each islet intentional beyond mere practicality, encoding knowledge now lost to time? Legends deepen the enigma. Stories speak of the Sodalur rulers wielding magical powers, of stones that moved themselves across the lagoon, and of secret tunnels connecting the platforms beneath the water. While these tales may be myth, they underscore the awe that the city inspired for generations, a place that seems to exist both within and beyond the natural order. Even today, fishermen and locals speak of strange currents and shifting waters near the ruins, as though the city itself retains a memory of its creator's intentions. Scientific investigations continue, using modern technology to map the city and analyze the stones, yet each discovery often generates new questions. Radiocarbon dating confirms construction over several centuries, but does not explain the sudden appearance of such monumental architecture on a remote island. Chemical analysis reveals techniques of stone shaping and placement that suggest knowledge lost to contemporary understanding. And while much of the city has succumbed to erosion, tides, and tropical storms, the enduring alignment and structure speak to a vision that transcended mere survival. Speculative theories abound. Some suggest Nan Madol represents an ancient civilization with engineering skills that rivaled the great builders of Mesopotamia or the Americas. Others propose that the city served as a center for ritualized astronomy or spiritual communion, where rulers maintained harmony between humanity, nature, and the divine. And, as with other mysterious sites around the world, a few have even posited extraterrestrial involvement, invoking the seemingly impossible feats of stone transport as evidence. Yet none of these theories fully explain the city's complexity, leaving its true purpose tantalizingly out of reach. Walking among the ruined islets today, the air thick with salt and humidity, the city exudes a quiet authority. The basalt walls rise like silent sentinels, the canals glint in the tropical sun, and the fragments of ceremonial platforms hint at a civilization both sophisticated and enigmatic. There is a rhythm to the space, a dialogue between water, stone, and human ambition that evokes both wonder and humility. One can imagine the Sodalur rulers standing on these platforms, gazing over the lagoon, contemplating their dominion and their place in the cosmos. Nan Madol remains a question written in stone. Its precise construction, deliberate layout, and mysterious abandonment provoke reflection on the ingenuity, beliefs, and ambitions of a people whose full story has been lost to time. What inspired such a city? How were its stones transported and arranged with such precision across water? And what knowledge, spiritual or practical, guided its builders through centuries of construction? The ruins lie in patient silence, half reclaimed by tide and jungle, half preserved as testament to human creativity. Like the solstice alignments of Goseck, the mummies of Nazca, or the Mpaluzi footprint, Nan Madol occupies a space between the known and the unknown, offering glimpses into the past while keeping its deepest secrets. For now, the city waits, its islets and canals whispering across the lagoon. And we are left to wonder, what remains hidden beneath the water, buried in the foundations, or encoded in the very layout of the city? Perhaps one day, the secrets of Nan Madol will be fully revealed. But until then, the city continues to evoke awe, curiosity, and the quiet hum of mystery. As the sun sets over the tranquil lagoons of Micronesia, leaving the ruins of Nan Madol to shimmer in the fading light, our journey of unexplained human achievements returns once more to the cradle of civilization, the lands of ancient Egypt. Here, amidst the arid sands and the eternal gaze of the Nile, lies a subterranean marvel that has both fascinated and confounded archaeologists for centuries, the Serapeum of Saqqara. Beneath the shifting desert surface stretches a network of tunnels and chambers carved into the limestone, hidden from the sun's glare for millennia. Within these shadowed corridors lie the giant sarcophagi of the Apis bulls, immense stone coffins, some measuring over 3 meters in length and weighing dozens of tons. Their sheer scale is immediately striking. To see them is to feel the weight of human ambition pressed into stone, the effort of countless hands over untold days, lifting, carving, and positioning monuments designed to endure eternity. The sarcophagi are austere, yet hauntingly precise. Rectangular blocks with lids sculpted to a near-perfect fit, their surfaces smooth, yet imbued with the silent presence of the sacred beings they were meant to house. The Serapeum was first excavated in the 19th century, revealing an astonishing collection of these monumental tombs, each one dedicated to a sacred Apis bull, considered a living incarnation of the god Ptah. The cult of the Apis had endured for centuries, and the Serapeum became both a repository of religious devotion and a testament to the engineering skills of the Egyptian priests. Archaeologists have identified a careful layout. Corridors stretching hundreds of meters, chambers arranged with geometric precision, and niches carved to hold additional relics and offerings. Every detail suggests ritual, reverence, and an understanding of structural integrity that continues to impress modern engineers. Yet the Serapeum is more than a remarkable feat of construction. The origins of the sarcophagi themselves have sparked questions that endure to this day. Quarrying, transporting, and positioning these massive stones would have been an extraordinary challenge, even by the standards of ancient Egypt. Some of the coffins are made from single blocks of granite, quarried hundreds of kilometers away, raising the question, how did workers transport such colossal stones over vast distances, and with what tools or techniques? Written records are scarce, and while ramps, sledges, and manpower are frequently suggested, the precision of placement, some coffins appear perfectly aligned along underground corridors, remains a puzzle. The size of the sarcophagi has also fueled speculation. Were the bulls truly as massive as the tombs suggest, or were the coffins symbolic, designed to impress and intimidate with the illusion of monumental scale? Ancient texts describe Apis bulls as sacred and imposing, Yet even so, the dimensions of some sarcophagi seem to surpass the natural size of the animals they once held. Could this have been an exaggeration of scale to communicate divine power? Or is it evidence of a lost understanding of biology and ritual significance in the Old Kingdom? Adding to the mystery is the choice of location itself. The Serapeum lies beneath the necropolis of Saqqara, a site already rich with tombs, pyramids, and mortuary temples. Why bury these bulls in subterranean tunnels rather than in more visible monuments? Was this an intentional act of concealment, a sacred secret to be preserved for the afterlife, or a functional method for stabilizing these immense stones beneath shifting sands? The chambers are cut with an astonishing level of symmetry, suggesting planning, measurement, and design far beyond what might be expected for a burial site of animals, even sacred ones. Explorers and scholars have long noted that the Serapeum seems to operate on multiple levels: architectural, religious, symbolic, and perhaps even astronomical. Some corridors are aligned with cardinal directions, while others mirror the orientation of nearby temples. Could these alignments have served a ritual purpose, guiding the spiritual journey of the Apis bulls or reinforcing cosmic order as the Egyptians understood it? Others suggest the chambers may encode knowledge, a repository not only for the remains of the sacred bulls, but for the principles of construction, geometry, or divine ritual practices, knowledge deliberately preserved beneath layers of stone and sand. Fringe theories, too, have emerged over the years. Some propose that the size and weight of the sarcophagi indicate the presence of techniques now lost, or even contact with civilizations possessing knowledge surpassing that of the Old Kingdom. Others speculate that the Serapeum may be evidence of symbolic communication, where the monumental scale was intended to convey power not only to mortals, but to gods themselves. While such ideas are debated, they underscore the sense of wonder the site inspires, a place where human ingenuity intersects with the sacred, leaving more questions than answers. Walking through the Serapeum today, the air is cool and still, heavy with the scent of stone and the passage of time. Light filters through cracks and gaps in the limestone, casting long shadows across the massive sarcophagi, highlighting the precision of their construction. The silence is almost tangible. Each echo reverberates along the walls of the tunnels, a reminder of lives devoted to ritual, labor, and faith. One can almost imagine the priests moving through these chambers, the sacred bulls lying in state, and the devotion that demanded such monumental effort. Yet, for all we know, much remains hidden. The quarrying techniques, the transport methods, the full meaning behind the sarcophagi's dimensions, these continue to elude definitive explanation. Like other mysteries we have explored, the Nazca mummies, the Mpaluzi footprint, the Goseck Circle, or non-model, the Serapeum occupies a liminal space between the known and the unknown. It invites us to contemplate not only what humans are capable of achieving, but also the beliefs, rituals, and knowledge that have been lost to time. The giant sarcophagi remain, silent and unyielding, guardians of an enigma carved into stone. Their size and precision continue to challenge assumptions about ancient Egyptian engineering and ritual practice, and their placement beneath the sands keeps them partially veiled from the world. We can measure them, study them, and theorize endlessly, yet the full story, the intentions of the priests, the significance of the architecture, and the secrets of the Apis bulls, remains just out of reach. As we walk among these monumental tombs, the questions linger. How did a civilization so long ago conceive, quarry, and assemble these immense coffins? What drove them to create such enduring monuments to sacred animals? And what other secrets, still buried beneath the sands of Saqqara, might yet emerge to challenge our understanding of the ancient world? For now, the Serapeum waits, silent and imposing, a testament to human ambition and devotion, and a reminder that some mysteries, no matter how carefully documented, endure beyond the reach of time. As the shadows of Egypt fade behind us and the silent stone of the Serapeum lingers in memory, our journey of enigmatic relics and unexplained human achievements takes us across the Mediterranean to the rugged hills and ancient caves of Crete. Here, within the heart of a labyrinthine cave, lies a small yet profoundly mysterious artifact, the Arkalochori Axe. The cave itself, hidden among rocky outcrops near the village of Arkalochori, is unassuming from the outside. Its entrance opens into darkness, cool and still, with walls glistening faintly from millennia of mineral deposits. But inside, archaeologists discovered something that instantly captured the imagination: a bronze double axe, intricately decorated and mounted upon a stand carved into the rock. Its blade gleams faintly, preserved through time, and its surface is covered with enigmatic symbols, inscriptions that resist easy interpretation, their meaning obscured by the passage of centuries. The object is deceptively small, yet it radiates an authority and presence far beyond its size. The Arkalochori Axe dates back to the Minoan civilization, roughly 1500 BCE, a culture already renowned for its artistry, architecture, and complex religious practices. The Minoans left behind frescoes, palaces, and objects that testify to a society both sophisticated and deeply symbolic. Yet this particular axe seems to occupy a space beyond ordinary ceremonial tools. Its inscriptions resemble scripts that scholars have struggled to decipher fully, signs that appear in no other context, or only in scattered, tantalizing fragments elsewhere on the island. What message was intended? What ritual did it accompany? These questions remain unanswered. Excavations of the cave suggest it was a place of ritual significance. Burnt offerings, pottery fragments, and remnants of religious paraphernalia indicate that people returned here repeatedly, perhaps over generations, to perform ceremonies or communicate with deities. The Arkalochori Axe, positioned centrally and surrounded by other votive objects, may have been the focal point of such activities. But its exact function, whether as a symbol of power, a ceremonial implement, or a marker of sacred knowledge, remains elusive. What makes the axe especially intriguing is the nature of its inscriptions. While some symbols echo the linear A script, the primary writing system of the Minoans, many characters defy classification. Researchers have debated whether the markings represent an unknown dialect, a secret religious code, or a symbolic system meant for initiates rather than for public understanding. Attempts at translation have yielded partial interpretations, but the full meaning remains tantalizingly out of reach. Were these symbols an invocation, a record, or a warning? Could the axe itself have been considered a conduit between the mortal and the divine? The physical craftsmanship of the axe is equally remarkable. The bronze is alloyed with precision, and the double blade design is symmetrical and balanced. The Minoans were already adept metallurgists, yet the care and refinement invested in this particular object suggest it held significance beyond utility. Was it wielded in ritual combat, or was it purely symbolic, a ceremonial emblem of authority and sacred power? Some researchers have proposed that the shape of the axe may itself carry cosmological meaning, representing duality, balance, or the intersection of earthly and celestial forces. Speculative theories have naturally emerged. Some suggest the Arkalochori Axe was part of a larger network of sacred objects spread across Minoan Crete, each aligned with key astronomical events or geographical markers. Others see in its undeciphered script evidence of hidden knowledge, possibly spiritual, possibly technological, preserved only for those initiated into the highest religious mysteries. And, as with many artifacts that resist full understanding, A few have even speculated about connections to lost civilizations or influences from unknown cultures beyond the Mediterranean. While these ideas remain conjecture, they underscore the aura of mystery that surrounds the axe. The cave itself adds to the enigma. Its walls, rough and uneven, bear traces of soot and faint carvings that suggest careful attention over generations. The Minoans chose this location deliberately, placing the axe at the heart of a natural chamber that amplifies sound and light in subtle ways. Could the cave's acoustics have been part of ritual, creating a sacred resonance as priests invoked the divine? Or was its placement purely symbolic, chosen for concealment or protection? We may never know. Standing before the Arkalochori Axe today, one cannot help but feel the weight of human devotion and curiosity. It is an object that bridges time, a reminder of a culture whose achievements continue to surprise and challenge modern understanding. Its inscriptions are silent, yet they speak across the millennia, inviting interpretation, speculation, and reflection. One senses that the people who placed it there understood the power of permanence, the way bronze and stone can outlast flesh and memory, preserving both reverence and mystery for future generations. The axe's story, however, remains incomplete. Scholars continue to study its metallurgy, its iconography, and its inscriptions, yet each answer seems to generate new questions. What knowledge did the Minoans encode in its symbols? Why did they choose this particular cave, in this particular landscape, to house an object of such care? And what other artifacts, perhaps lost or still buried, might offer context or further complicate the puzzle? As we leave the cave and the bronze gleam of the double axe behind, we are reminded once more of the persistence of mystery. The Arkalochori Axe, small yet commanding, preserved in shadow and rock, continues to elude definitive explanation. Like the Serapeum, Madol, or the Goseck Circle, it occupies a space between the known and the unknowable, inviting us to consider not only the ingenuity of ancient peoples, but also the limits of our own understanding. For now, the axe remains where it has for centuries, a silent testament to human imagination, ritual, and devotion. Its carvings invite interpretation, its presence demands contemplation, and its mystery endures, waiting for the day when perhaps new insight, or a fortunate discovery, may illuminate its true purpose. Until then, it stands quietly in its cave, a symbol of what is preserved, what is lost, and what continues to inspire wonder. As the echoes of Crete fade behind us and the Arkalochori Axe rests silently in memory, our journey turns once more, this time to the high plains of the Andes. Here, at over 3,800 meters above sea level, lies a site that has long perplexed archaeologists and engineers alike. Pumapunku, part of the vast Tiwanaku complex in Bolivia. Amid the ruins of its monumental terraces and platforms, one particular enigma captures the imagination, the so-called Pumapunku magnetic stones. From a distance, Pumapunku appears as a sprawling ruin of precisely cut stone blocks, their edges unnervingly sharp, their arrangement suggesting planning and technique far beyond what is typically attributed to a civilization that flourished over a millennium ago. Among these blocks are massive slabs of red sandstone and andesite, some weighing over 100 tons. Yet what sets them apart is not merely their size, but their peculiar physical properties. Certain stones appear to exhibit magnetic qualities, responding to compasses and metallic instruments in ways that continue to intrigue researchers. The site itself is ancient, with radiocarbon dating placing its construction between 300 and 500 CE during the height of the Tiwanaku culture. Tiwanaku was a society of remarkable architectural and agricultural sophistication, capable of raising monumental terraces, canals, and pyramidal platforms amid a harsh, high-altitude environment. Pumapunku, however, stands apart even within this impressive city. The precision of its masonry is staggering. Stones cut to interlock with millimeter-level accuracy, grooves and sockets carved to fit like puzzle pieces, some seemingly designed to join at angles that defy conventional methods of lifting and placement. Mainstream archaeology suggests that the Tiwanaku people employed sophisticated tools and ingenious engineering techniques, likely involving levers, ramps, and simple machinery. Yet, the more one examines the stones at Pumapunku, the more the conventional explanations strain against the evidence. How could such enormous stones have been quarried, transported across uneven terrain, and fitted together with such accuracy without metal tools or modern lifting equipment? And how, in particular, were the magnetic properties of certain andesite blocks accounted for, or even understood, by their builders? The magnetic behavior of these stones is subtle but measurable. Compasses can be deflected near some blocks, and experiments have suggested unusual alignment patterns that appear deliberate rather than coincidental. Some researchers hypothesize that the stones themselves may have been chosen for their composition, perhaps to encode astronomical, spiritual, or symbolic meaning into the construction. Others propose that the builders had practical reasons for using certain minerals, weight, durability, or resistance to environmental erosion. But the fact that these stones exhibit magnetism adds a layer of mystery that continues to inspire debate. Adding to the intrigue are the precise cuts and interlocking joints. Many blocks bear straight edges, right angles, and precise notches that fit perfectly with neighboring stones. Some of the grooves suggest knowledge of advanced geometric principles, while others appear designed to distribute stress across massive blocks, preventing cracking. The craftsmanship is so exacting that modern engineers, using contemporary tools, still struggle to replicate the work. How did a society without steel chisels, cranes, or detailed schematics achieve such uniformity on such a massive scale? Speculative theories abound, but each must be approached with caution. Some suggest that the Tiwanaku people possessed knowledge of magnetism, potentially employing it for spiritual, ritual, or even mechanical purposes. Others have wondered whether the Pumapunku stones are evidence of a lost technology, a method of stone cutting or transport that has vanished from human memory. Fringe interpretations occasionally venture further, proposing that the magnetic stones represent an interaction with forces or knowledge not fully understood by modern science. While these ideas remain conjecture, they underscore the sense of wonder that the site inspires, a place where precision and anomaly coexist in ways that challenge conventional explanations. The site's original purpose adds another layer of mystery. Pumapunku is thought to have been both ceremonial and architectural, forming terraces, platforms, and structures that may have supported temples or ritual spaces. Yet no written record or definitive iconography has survived to explain why the magnetic stones were selected or how they were used. Were they markers of sacred space, instruments of alignment, or tools for rituals involving energy, direction, or sound? Each hypothesis is tantalizing but incomplete, leaving us with more questions than answers. Walking among the ruins today, one senses the precision and ambition of a civilization determined to leave a mark upon the earth. The stones rise in fractured symmetry, their surfaces smooth and gleaming after centuries of wind, rain, and frost. Some appear dislodged, others perfectly interlocked, and yet the pattern suggests intention at a scale that defies casual observation. The Andes themselves loom above, silent witnesses to the ingenuity and perhaps the mystery of human hands and minds. Pumapunku, like other sites we have explored, the Serapeum of Egypt, Madol in Micronesia, or the Goseck Circle in Germany, occupies a liminal space between what is understood and what is enigmatic. Its stones speak of skill, ambition, and vision, yet they withhold the full story of their creation and purpose. The magnetic anomalies, The precision engineering and the massive scale compel us to reconsider assumptions about what ancient peoples could achieve even under challenging conditions and with seemingly limited technology. For now, the Pumapunku magnetic stones remain partially buried, partially exposed, resisting complete comprehension. They invite reflection on the ingenuity of human societies and the mysteries that endure despite centuries of study. Were these stones chosen and placed with knowledge we have yet to recover? Or were their properties an accidental byproduct of design and geology? And how much more of the site and the knowledge it encodes remains hidden beneath centuries of sediment, waiting to be revealed? The stones lie still, silent and magnetic, calling us to observe, measure, and wonder. And as we leave the high plains of Bolivia behind, the questions linger, urging us onward to the next mystery, another fragment of human history that challenges our understanding and reminds us that the past is far more complex and far more mysterious than we often imagine. As the high plains of Bolivia recede behind us, and the magnetic stones of Pumapunku linger in our minds, our journey turns once more, this time across Europe, to the rolling hills and river valleys of Romania. Here, amidst fields and forests near the town of Aiud, lies a small metallic object that has quietly puzzled scientists for decades: the Wedge of Aiud. The wedge itself is unassuming at first glance. Roughly the size of a hand, triangular in shape, and composed of a metal alloy that has resisted simple classification, it appears almost ordinary until one begins to examine it closely. Its surface is polished, yet irregular, marked by long grooves that run parallel along its length. The edges are sharp, suggesting careful shaping, and the metal, though corroded with age, retains an unusual density. Something about it hints at deliberate manufacture, but by whom and for what purpose remains unresolved. The story of the wedge begins in 1974, when it was discovered buried deep beneath layers of sediment alongside fossilized bones of extinct elephants and other prehistoric fauna. The wedge was reportedly embedded in a concretion, suggesting it had been in the earth for tens of thousands of years. This context immediately raised eyebrows. Could a metallic object, clearly shaped and human-made, have existed in the Paleolithic era? Mainstream archaeology is cautious, noting that contamination or later intrusion is always possible, yet the association with fossilized remains complicates such explanations. Scientific examinations reveal both familiar and mysterious qualities. Composed primarily of aluminum, the wedge is unusual because naturally occurring aluminum is extremely rare in metallic form. It generally exists in compounds that require high temperatures or advanced chemical processes to reduce to metal. For a civilization tens of thousands of years ago, this would imply knowledge and technology far beyond what is known. Some metallurgists suggest that the wedge may have formed from natural processes, yet its triangular form, grooved surfaces, and overall symmetry hint at intentional crafting. Could natural forces create something so orderly, or does this point to human, or perhaps unknown, intervention? Further intrigue arises from its context. The wedge was found with prehistoric megafauna, bones embedded in ancient river sediments, suggesting that it had been deposited long before modern humans are thought to have arrived in Europe. Radiocarbon dating of the surrounding materials and stratigraphy indicates an age possibly exceeding 11,000 years. If the wedge is indeed contemporary with these deposits, it would predate known metallurgy by millennia, presenting a profound challenge to conventional understanding of technological history. Theories about its origin are varied and often controversial. Some researchers propose that the wedge is a modern intrusion, perhaps a piece of scrap metal accidentally incorporated into older sediments. Others suggest it could be a naturally occurring metallic concretion misinterpreted as a manufactured object. Yet the precise angles, the grooves along its surface, and the consistency of the material have led others to consider far more extraordinary possibilities. Could it be a tool or component created by an unknown or lost civilization? Could it even hint at knowledge lost to time, artifacts of technologies not recorded in history? Laboratory tests have offered tantalizing hints but no definitive answers. Spectrographic analysis confirms high-purity aluminum, unusual for natural formations. Microscopic examination shows parallel striations that resemble machining marks rather than corrosion patterns or random geological abrasion. Such features invite comparison to human craftsmanship, yet the age and context of the wedge remain controversial. No contemporaneous artifacts have been found that resemble it, and the culture that might have produced such an object is entirely unknown. Speculative interpretations naturally abound. Some fringe theories suggest the wedge could be evidence of extraterrestrial intervention, a relic from a lost, advanced civilization, or even a technological artifact that has been buried and forgotten for tens of thousands of years. Others interpret it as a cautionary tale, an anomaly that forces us to confront the limits of human knowledge, reminding us that our understanding of prehistoric technology and innovation is far from complete. The wedge is not large, yet it commands attention. Holding it, or simply observing photographs and micrographs, one cannot help but sense the mystery embedded within. Every groove, every polished face, seems to whisper of hands, or forces, that shaped it deliberately. And yet the absence of context, the lack of corroborating artifacts, and the enigmatic composition leave it suspended in uncertainty. It is a bridge across time, an object whose story begins in deep prehistory and continues unresolved into the present. Walking the fields near Aiud today, one might imagine the wedge buried deep beneath the soil for millennia, lying among the bones of creatures that once roamed the earth. Its discovery in the 20th century seems almost miraculous, a small window into a world we barely comprehend. Was it a tool, a ceremonial object, a piece of machinery, or something else entirely? And if it is indeed tens of thousands of years old, what does that imply about the people, or beings, who created it? The Wedge of Aiud, like the magnetic stones of Pumapunku or the Arkalochori Axe, occupies a liminal space between the known and the unexplained. It challenges our assumptions about prehistoric technology, materials science, and human ingenuity. Every analysis raises further questions. Every hypothesis leaves room for doubt, and the silence of the earth that preserved it adds weight to the mystery. For now, the wedge remains buried in both memory and laboratory reports, its origin unresolved, its purpose unknown. It is a testament to curiosity, to the persistence of human inquiry, and to the enduring mysteries that the past continues to offer. We are left to wonder, who, or what, created this small yet extraordinary object, and what other artifacts of unimaginable antiquity may still lie hidden, waiting to challenge our understanding of history itself. The wedge rests in shadow, unyielding and enigmatic, reminding us that even the smallest object can carry a story that spans millennia, and that some mysteries, however carefully studied, continue to elude explanation. As the metallic enigma of the Aiud wedge fades from view and the high plains of Romania recede behind us, our journey of unexplained human achievement turns eastward, across continents and centuries, to the rugged terrain of Maharashtra in India. Nestled within a rocky gorge near the town of Ellora lies a monument that defies expectation and challenges imagination, the Temple of Kailasa. At first glance, Kailasa seems impossible. Carved entirely from a single basalt cliff, it rises like a mountain sculpted into the earth, a sprawling complex of sanctuaries, courtyards, and corridors. The scale is staggering. Enormous pillars, intricate carvings, and monumental halls stretch across the site, all hewn downward from solid rock. The temple is a vertical labyrinth, a single monolithic block that appears to have been both excavated and assembled in one continuous act. Shadows deepen in the recesses of the carvings, highlighting figures of deities, celestial beings, and mythological scenes, their artistry so precise and detailed that centuries later, visitors still marvel at the craftsmanship. Construction of the temple is generally attributed to the 8th century CE during the reign of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. Historical records suggest a workforce of hundreds, possibly thousands, labored for decades, sculpting the massive monolith from the top of the cliff downward. The temple's design mirrors Mount Kailasa, the mythical abode of Lord Shiva, embodying not only devotion, but also cosmology, symbolism, and religious philosophy. Scholars often describe the temple as an architectural miracle, an unprecedented feat of rock-cut engineering that showcases both artistic and technical mastery. Yet, as impressive as Kailasa is, its very existence raises questions that linger unanswered. How could such a complex have been carved entirely from a single rock? What tools, techniques, and planning methods allowed craftsmen to remove thousands of tons of basalt with such precision without the aid of modern machinery? The temple's interior, with its narrow passageways, cantilevered balconies, and precisely angled pillars, seems to defy conventional understanding of ancient engineering. Was there knowledge, perhaps lost to history, that enabled such feats? The temple's carvings deepen the mystery. Every surface is alive with intricate reliefs depicting divine narratives, celestial beings, and mythic battles. Yet there are sections of Kailasa where the carvings appear almost impossibly detailed for the scale and hardness of the rock. The precision of the work, perfectly aligned geometric patterns, smoothly contoured figures, and meticulous depth control suggests techniques that remain a matter of speculation. Did artisans rely solely on chisels and hammers, or were there other, now forgotten methods that allowed for such accuracy at immense scale? Equally remarkable is the temple's architectural coherence. Despite being carved downward from the cliff, Kailasa maintains structural integrity across vast spans, with pillars supporting enormous roof slabs and multi-level terraces connected seamlessly. Mainstream explanations point to careful planning and a sophisticated understanding of stone properties. Yet the execution is so flawless that some scholars and enthusiasts find conventional reasoning difficult to accept fully. Could this be the result of extraordinary human ingenuity, or does it hint at knowledge or methods that we have yet to recover? Speculative interpretations naturally arise. Some suggest that Kailasa embodies esoteric knowledge, its geometry and spatial organization designed to align with cosmic principles, sacred numerology, or celestial events. Others propose that the temple represents not only devotion, but an advanced understanding of material properties and engineering physics. While these ideas remain conjectural, they illustrate the way Kailasa continues to inspire awe, challenging both the mind and the imagination of those who study it. The very act of carving a temple downward from a cliff is rare, yet Kailasa's execution is unique. Its planners and artisans would have needed to visualize the entire structure in advance, understanding how to remove stone without destabilizing the rock, and how to achieve precise symmetry from a top-down approach. No contemporary sketches or written manuals survive to explain this process. The absence of detailed records adds to the sense of mystery, leaving us to speculate about how knowledge was transmitted, preserved, and applied in ways that remain invisible to modern eyes. Walking through Kailasa today, the senses are overwhelmed by scale, detail, and quiet power. The temple's courtyards open into massive halls. Pillars rise like sentinels, and every carving, every niche seems to tell a story both human and divine. The air is thick with the passage of time, each echo of footsteps reverberating against centuries-old stone. It is impossible not to feel the ambition, devotion, and ingenuity embedded in every corner of this monumental complex, yet the questions endure. How was it physically possible to create such a structure? What techniques allowed artisans to remove immense quantities of rock with perfect precision and to maintain proportion, symmetry, and structural integrity across the entire site? Did the builders possess knowledge or methods that have since been lost? And beyond the technical, what philosophical, spiritual, or cosmological principles guided them to envision a temple that is simultaneously monumental, symbolic, and exquisitely detailed? Kailasa, like the Wedge of Aiud or the Pumapunku stones, reminds us that human history is punctuated by feats that challenge understanding. It occupies a space between engineering, art, devotion, and mystery, a place where questions are as monumental as the stones themselves. Its very existence invites contemplation, curiosity, and reflection on the limits of what is known. The Temple of Kailasa stands in quiet grandeur, carved into solid rock yet open to interpretation, a testament to human skill and imagination. Its monolithic walls, intricate carvings, and seemingly impossible execution continue to inspire wonder. And as we leave this sacred site behind, the questions linger, echoing through centuries. How exactly was such a marvel achieved? And what secrets, structural, spiritual, or symbolic, remain hidden within its stone heart? The temple waits, eternal and silent, inviting us to look, to wonder, and to acknowledge that some mysteries, no matter how deeply studied, remain beyond the grasp of time and understanding. As the carved monoliths and intricate chambers of India's Kailasa temple recede into memory, our exploration of humanity's enigmatic achievements takes us across oceans to one of the most isolated places on Earth, Easter Island or Rapa Nui. Here, on a windswept volcanic isle in the South Pacific, a civilization left behind an extraordinary and enduring mystery, not in stone, but in symbols, the Rongorongo script. The script is both beautiful and baffling. Carved onto wooden tablets, staffs, and ceremonial objects, the glyphs form lines of repeating shapes, each one unique yet patterned, flowing across the surfaces with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Birds, fish, human figures, geometric designs, and abstract motifs intertwine, creating a language that is simultaneously familiar in its symbolic intent and utterly foreign in its structure. The tablets themselves vary in size, some small enough to hold in the hand, others large and weighty, yet all bear evidence of careful craftsmanship. Each glyph seems deliberate, each line a record of meaning now lost to time. Rongorongo first came to the attention of European explorers in the 19th century, after centuries of cultural upheaval had left much of Rapa Nui's history fragmented. The island had already gained renown for its massive moai statues, stone sentinels that gaze across the landscape with inscrutable expression. But Rongorongo offers a different kind of enigma, one that lies not in scale but in intellect, memory, and language. Despite decades of scholarly attention, the script remains undeciphered, its syntax and semantics resisting even the most sophisticated analytical methods. Mainstream research generally agrees that Rongorongo may represent a form of proto-writing or mnemonic system, possibly used to record genealogies, rituals, or astronomical knowledge. The glyphs are carved in a boustrophodon pattern, alternating direction with each line, a style that would require remarkable attention to detail and an understanding of structure that suggests literacy, or at least highly specialized knowledge, among its users. Yet, beyond these observations, certainty evaporates. What information did these symbols encode? How were they taught, preserved, and transmitted? And how much of the island's knowledge, once contained in these tablets, has been irretrievably lost? The material of the tablets adds another layer of intrigue. Crafted from local wood, often preserved with care against the humid, salty air, the objects are remarkably resilient. Yet their survival is precarious. Most known examples have been damaged or lost over time. This fragility raises questions about how Rapa Nui society valued and protected knowledge, and how much of it might remain hidden, perhaps buried or awaiting rediscovery in remote corners of the island. The craftsmanship suggests that the carvings were significant, yet the precise methods, techniques, and tools used to incise these glyphs remain largely speculative. Speculative theories naturally abound. Some researchers suggest that Rongorongo contains ritualistic or religious content, a sacred script reserved for priestly elites, linking Rapa Nui to broader Polynesian cosmology and myth. Others propose that it may have encoded practical information, calendars, navigational data, or genealogical records vital to survival on an isolated island. More fringe interpretations occasionally venture further, suggesting connections to lost civilizations or advanced knowledge now forgotten, though such ideas remain conjectural. What is undeniable, however, is the aura of deliberate complexity. These are not random scratches, but a carefully organized system, intentionally structured and maintained. The historical context of the script adds weight to its mystery. European contact and the subsequent upheavals of disease, slavery, and colonial intrusion decimated the Rapa Nui population, disrupting traditional knowledge systems. Rongorongo may have once been widely understood, a living, functional form of writing that recorded the island's history, science, and belief. Today, however, the glyphs stand silent. No living person can read them, and no Rosetta Stone exists to bridge the centuries of cultural rupture. The gap between the script's original purpose and our present understanding remains vast, leaving the tablet suspended in a liminal space between comprehension and enigma. The patterns themselves invite speculation about their meaning. Birds appear repeatedly, perhaps reflecting the importance of avian species in Rapa Nui cosmology, or perhaps encoding symbolic or calendrical significance. Geometric shapes suggest abstract concepts, while humanoid figures may denote lineage, myth, or ritual participants. Yet the interplay between these motifs remains opaque. Are they phonetic elements, ideograms, mnemonic devices, or a combination thereof? Each attempt at decipherment produces tantalizing hints, only to leave the overall structure unresolved. Holding or observing a Rongorongo tablet today, one cannot escape the sense of a vanished intellect, a voice from a society now largely silent. The carvings speak of purpose, care, and knowledge, yet they offer no immediate answers. They compel us to ask, what drove the Rapa Nui people to create this system? How did they preserve and transmit it, generation to generation, on an island so remote and challenging? And what truths, practical or spiritual, are encoded in these glyphs that might forever remain beyond our reach? Rongorongo, like the Aiud Wedge, Pumapunku, or the Kailasa Temple, exists at the boundary between human ingenuity and unresolved mystery. It reminds us that knowledge is fragile, that civilizations can vanish or transform, and that artifacts can preserve both achievement and enigma across centuries. It challenges assumptions about literacy, culture, and the intellectual capabilities of isolated societies, compelling us to consider how much of human history is recorded yet inaccessible, or perhaps irretrievably lost. The tablets lie in museums and collections, preserved under glass, yet their true meaning remains beyond our grasp. They are silent witnesses to a people whose lives, rituals, and knowledge were encoded in shapes and lines, waiting for understanding that may never come. And as we leave the island behind, the question lingers. What secrets of Rapa Nui survive only in Rongorongo, and what other forms of human knowledge lie hidden, waiting to be rediscovered in the quiet corners of the world. The glyphs remain, silent yet compelling, a puzzle carved in wood and memory, inviting us to wonder, to study, and to acknowledge that some mysteries of our past endure beyond the reach of time and interpretation. As the silent glyphs of Rongorongo fade from our minds, leaving the windswept isolation of Easter Island behind, our journey of unexplained human achievements turns to the remote landscapes of northern China. Here, in the arid deserts surrounding the vast Qinghai Tibet Plateau, stands a site that has perplexed researchers and ignited speculation for decades. Mount Baigong. Rising stark and silent against the horizon, the mountain conceals a network of rust-colored pipes and stone structures, artifacts that suggest a mystery far older than conventional history might allow. The pipes themselves are immediately striking. Buried in the rock and soil around Mount Baigong, they range in diameter from a few centimeters to nearly a meter, often extending hundreds of meters into the mountainside. Some emerge from the walls of natural caves, while others lie half-buried in dry, mineral-rich soil, their surfaces corroded, yet remarkably uniform. The most astonishing feature is their apparent material. Tests suggest a high concentration of iron and silicon, with some analyses indicating traces of fossilized organic matter. Their appearance, combined with their placement, gives the impression of deliberate construction, as though an unknown hand had carved channels through stone with a purpose now obscured by time. Scientific attention first intensified in the late 20th century, when researchers began systematically documenting the pipes, measuring their lengths, diameters, and orientation. Some are hollow, others appear filled with mineral deposits, and many converge toward nearby saltwater lakes, a curious alignment that suggests functionality. Conventional explanations propose natural geological processes, mineral veins, erosion patterns, or iron concretions. But these fail to account for the striking uniformity, straightness, and interconnected arrangement of the pipes. Could such precision occur purely through natural processes, or does the evidence hint at something constructed? The context of Mount Baigong adds another layer of mystery. The region is sparsely populated, with a harsh climate and rocky terrain that would make any large-scale construction effort challenging even today. How then could a network of massive pipes, some over a meter wide, have been shaped and positioned with such apparent purpose? And what technology might have allowed for cutting, hollowing, and connecting these formations in such a systematic manner? Conventional archaeology offers no records of human activity in this region capable of producing structures of this scale thousands of years ago. Further intrigue arises from the chemical composition of the pipes. Laboratory analysis suggests a mixture of iron oxide and silicon dioxide, with some unusual traces of other elements. Some researchers speculate that this composition could indicate a form of metalworking lost to history or a naturally occurring fusion of materials through geological processes. The possibility that the pipes might be thousands, or even tens of thousands of years old adds weight to the puzzle. If they are man-made, who built them, and for what purpose? If they are natural, how did nature produce such uniform, hollow, and extensive conduits without human intervention? Speculation has, naturally, stretched into the extraordinary. Some suggest the pipes could have served as ancient plumbing or water transport systems, predating known civilizations by millennia. Others propose ritualistic or industrial purposes, or even that they represent evidence of a lost civilization, possessing technological knowledge beyond our current understanding. Fringe theories venture further, considering extraterrestrial involvement or manipulation, pointing to the sheer scale and complexity of the structures as evidence of intervention beyond human capability. While such ideas remain unverified, they underscore the profound sense of mystery that surrounds Mount Baigong. The interaction between the pipes and the surrounding landscape is equally enigmatic. Some emerge from the mouths of caves, only to disappear beneath the earth, as though deliberately routed into hidden chambers. Others lie partially exposed in eroded rock beds, forming patterns that suggest networked organization. Could these conduits have transported fluids, energy, or some other substance now forgotten? Or were they symbolic architectural expressions of knowledge or power, rather than functional infrastructure? Each interpretation raises further questions, and none fully satisfies the breadth of anomalies observed. Walking among the formations today, the scene is at once desolate and evocative. Rust-colored pipes lie half-buried in the rocky terrain, their surfaces etched by centuries of wind, rain, and chemical reactions. The mountains rise above in solemn quiet, their peaks hidden by clouds, lending the site an almost sacred stillness. Standing there, one can sense the labor, thought, or natural processes that shaped these forms, yet the story remains incomplete, the intent unresolved. Mount Baigong, like the Rongorongo tablets, the Temple of Kailasa, or the Wedge of Aiud, occupies a liminal space between human achievement and enduring mystery. The pipes compel reflection on the ingenuity of the past, the possibilities of forgotten knowledge, and the capacity of nature to confound expectation. They challenge assumptions about what is possible in remote regions, and about the timeline of technological and engineering development. For now, the Baigong pipes remain partially buried, corroded, and enigmatic. Their uniformity, alignment, and material properties resist easy explanation. They invite us to wonder about the builders, or forces, that created them, the purpose they served, and the secrets that may still lie hidden within the mountain itself. What knowledge or history might have been lost to time, waiting beneath the soil, preserved in metal and stone? The mountain stands, silent and imposing, its pipes threading through rock and memory alike. And as we leave the shadowed corridors of Mount Baigong behind, the questions persist, echoing across centuries. Who, or what, shaped these conduits, and what other enigmas remain buried in the hidden corners of our world, quietly awaiting rediscovery? As the rugged peaks and hidden conduits of Mount Baigong fade behind us, our journey of unexplained human endeavors leads us westward, across continents and centuries, to the sun-baked landscapes of central Turkey. Here, in the heart of Cappadocia, lies a subterranean labyrinth that has fascinated explorers, historians, and travelers alike, the Derinkuyu underground city. From above, the landscape appears serene, rolling hills dotted with fairy chimneys and volcanic rock formations, the soft ochre and terracotta hues of Cappadocia stretching to the horizon. Yet beneath the earth, hidden from view, is a marvel of engineering and imagination. Descending into Derinkuyu is like stepping into another world. Narrow stone corridors wind downward, chambers open into vast communal spaces, and ventilation shafts stretch like the lungs of a living organism, carrying air to depths that plunge nearly 60 meters below the surface. The silence is profound, broken only by the faint echo of footsteps on carved stone. Derinkuyu is not a simple cave or a single dwelling. It is a sprawling network of interlinked tunnels, rooms, and shafts, capable of housing tens of thousands of people. Archaeologists believe the city could shelter entire communities, complete with kitchens, wineries, stables, chapels, and even schools. Large circular stone doors, carved to swing from a single pivot, suggest both ingenuity and an awareness of defense, allowing inhabitants to seal off sections with remarkable efficiency. The scale and complexity are astonishing. This is a fully functional city, crafted entirely from soft volcanic tuff, shaped with tools of a distant past yet exhibiting a precision that challenges our modern assumptions. Dating of Derinkuyu suggests continuous use over millennia, from the Byzantine era through the early medieval period, with some evidence pointing to even earlier phases of habitation. Mainstream explanations propose that the city was primarily a refuge, built to protect inhabitants from invasions and raids, particularly during the tumultuous years of the early Middle Ages. Yet, as one explores its labyrinthine depths, it becomes apparent that the function of the city may have been multifaceted, blending practicality, spirituality, and perhaps symbolic intent. One of the enduring mysteries lies in the sheer scale of excavation. Tens of thousands of cubic meters of stone were removed to carve living quarters, halls, and tunnels, all while maintaining structural integrity across multiple levels. How did these ancient builders ensure that the city would not collapse under its own weight? How did they coordinate ventilation, water supply, and sanitation for a population living entirely underground? These feats suggest not only practical knowledge, but an understanding of engineering, geology, and communal planning that continues to impress modern observers. The defensive features of Derinkuyu invite further speculation. Massive stone doors could close off corridors in moments, yet the city also contains labyrinthine passages and dead ends that seem designed to confuse or slow intruders. Some researchers speculate that such features indicate not merely survival instinct, but strategic foresight, a sophisticated approach to communal safety. Were these defenses purely functional, or did they carry symbolic or ritual significance, reflecting beliefs about protection, hierarchy, or the unseen world? Ventilation shafts deepen the mystery. Dozens of narrow conduits ascend from the deepest levels to the surface, their precise alignment ensuring airflow throughout the city. Even the lowest chambers are supplied with fresh air, a detail that would require careful planning and understanding of airflow dynamics. How did ancient builders conceptualize and implement such a system without formal knowledge of physics or modern measurement tools? Were there other hidden purposes for these shafts, spiritual, ceremonial, or perhaps astronomical, that have yet to be discovered? Speculative theories extend further. Some have suggested that Derinkuyu, along with other underground cities in Cappadocia, may reflect a continuity of knowledge lost to time, a sophisticated understanding of urban planning and defense predating written records. Others have proposed more extraordinary ideas, imagining the city as part of a network of subterranean refuges stretching across Anatolia, or even as a repository of secret knowledge, preserved beneath layers of rock and history. While these notions remain unverified, they underscore the sense of wonder the site inspires, a place where human ingenuity and the mysteries of history converge. Walking through Derinkuyu today, the sensation is immediate and immersive. The corridors feel alive, the low ceilings and tight passageways pressing gently, while wide halls and chambers open into unexpected expanses. One can almost hear the echoes of the past, the murmur of conversation, the clatter of stone doors, the soft steps of children navigating this underground city. There is a palpable tension between intimacy and enormity, between human scale and architectural ambition, that creates an almost spiritual atmosphere. Yet, for all its grandeur, Derinkuyu remains enigmatic. Who first conceived of this subterranean marvel? How long did construction take, and by what methods were the massive stone blocks carved and moved? What social or spiritual principles guided its layout, and how much knowledge about its use has been lost to the passage of time? Despite centuries of study, many of these questions remain unanswered, leaving the city suspended in a space between history and speculation. Derinkuyu, like the Baigong pipes, the Rongorongo tablets, or Kailasa temple, exists at the threshold of understanding. It challenges assumptions about what ancient peoples could accomplish, demonstrating both creativity and foresight in ways that resonate across millennia. Its labyrinthine passages invite not only exploration, but reflection on the ingenuity, resilience, and vision required to carve an entire civilization into stone. Today, as visitors descend into the cool, shadowed corridors, they confront both the achievements and the mysteries of their makers. The city is tangible, yet its full story remains obscured. Every carved door, every chamber, every ventilation shaft is a clue, and yet a question. How did humans create such a monumental underground refuge, and what other secrets might yet lie buried within its depths, or in the hidden cities that stretch beneath Cappadocia? Derinkuyu waits silently, a testament to human ambition and imagination, a city hewn from stone and memory, inviting us to wonder, to explore, and to acknowledge that some mysteries endure beyond the reach of time, preserving their secrets beneath the surface for those willing to descend and listen. As the winding corridors and hidden chambers of Derinkuyu recede behind us, and the subterranean ingenuity of Cappadocia lingers in memory, our journey leads us northwest, across the breadth of Europe, to the rolling plains of Wiltshire in England. Here, upon a windswept plateau, stands one of the most iconic and enduring enigmas of the ancient world, Stonehenge. From a distance, Stonehenge appears at once simple and impossible, a ring of colossal stones rising abruptly from the flat expanse of grassland, silhouetted against the sky. Some of the sarsen stones tower over 7 meters, weighing as much as 30 tons, while the smaller blue stones, transported from Wales, range between 2 and 5 tons. The stones are arranged with geometric precision, forming concentric circles and horseshoe patterns, some capped with horizontal lintels that balance in ways that defy casual engineering intuition. Shadows stretch across the site as the sun arcs overhead, and each angle seems to reveal new alignments, new perspectives, as though the stones themselves were placed to interact with light, landscape, and human observation. Archaeologists date the construction of Stonehenge to a period spanning approximately 3000 to 2000 BCE, with the site evolving over several centuries. It is generally understood to have been built in stages, beginning with earthworks and timber posts, later replaced and supplemented by massive stones arranged in complex formations. Radiocarbon dating, excavation, and study of surrounding burials suggest that Stonehenge was more than a monument. It was a center of ceremony, ritual, and perhaps astronomical observation, a focal point for communities across southern England. Yet, for all that is known, the mystery of Stonehenge persists. How were the stones transported across vast distances, particularly the blue stones, some of which traveled over 200 kilometers from the Preseli Hills in Wales? What methods did Neolithic people employ to move, lift, and precisely place stones of such immense weight without wheeled vehicles, cranes, or modern engineering tools? Even experimental archaeology, which has replicated some techniques using logs, ropes, and levers, can only partially explain the scale and accuracy of construction. Could there have been knowledge or methods now lost, insights into physics or organization that elude our understanding? The purpose of Stonehenge adds yet another layer of fascination. Mainstream theories suggest it served as a ceremonial center, a place for rites of burial, healing, or seasonal celebration. Its alignment with the solstices is well documented. On the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone, illuminating the center of the monument. Could this have functioned as a giant calendar, a tool for tracking solar and lunar cycles, agricultural seasons, or sacred dates? And if so, how did Neolithic societies acquire and transmit the astronomical knowledge necessary to achieve such precise orientation? Beyond these practical considerations, there are subtler enigmas. The stones themselves bear no inscriptions, yet their selection, placement, and shaping suggest intention on a scale that transcends simple utility. Some stones show evidence of carving and dressing, their surfaces smoothed and fitted to interlock with remarkable precision. Others are embedded in specific soil types or positioned in relation to natural features, hinting at symbolic or energetic considerations that may have been meaningful to the builders. Was Stonehenge a spiritual center, a conduit between people and cosmos, or a marker of communal identity, perhaps all of these at once. Speculative theories naturally abound, fueled by the monument's scale, precision, and apparent purpose. Some propose advanced engineering knowledge or lost technologies, while others suggest alignments and positioning that resonate with celestial, geomantic, or even acoustic principles. A small number of fringe interpretations consider extraterrestrial influence, noting the transport of massive stones and sophisticated planning. While unverified, these ideas underscore the enduring intrigue that Stonehenge commands. A structure simultaneously tangible, immovable, and profoundly mysterious. The surrounding landscape deepens the sense of wonder. Archaeologists have uncovered extensive networks of henges, burial mounds, and ceremonial pathways radiating outward from Stonehenge, suggesting it was part of a much larger ritual landscape. The stones may have formed a nexus, connecting natural features, settlements, and sacred spaces across the region. Was Stonehenge the culmination of centuries of experimentation, a crystallization of knowledge and devotion, or was it merely one element in an expansive spiritual and social network, much of which has disappeared beneath centuries of erosion and agricultural activity? Walking among the stones today, the experience is visceral. The scale overwhelms, the alignment surprises, the air hums with the quiet weight of history. Every stone, every shadowed angle seems to invite reflection. One cannot help but imagine the labor, cooperation, and shared vision required to erect such a monument, or the countless hands and generations that contributed to its creation. Stonehenge is both human and monumental, a testament to ingenuity and devotion, yet it continues to resist full understanding. For all its fame, Stonehenge remains enigmatic. How exactly were the stones quarried, transported, and raised? What rituals and ceremonies took place within the circle, and what beliefs motivated their creation? How did Neolithic societies conceptualize such scale, precision, and purpose without written records? Each answer provided by archaeology tends to illuminate further questions, revealing that understanding this site is a process of peeling back layers of human ingenuity and imagination rather than uncovering a definitive story. Stonehenge, like Derinkuyu, Mount Baigong, or the Rongorongo script, exists at the threshold of the known and the unexplained. It reminds us that even the most monumental achievements of human history can retain an air of mystery, challenging assumptions and inspiring curiosity. It is a structure that communicates across millennia, offering a glimpse into the minds, beliefs, and aspirations of a society long vanished, yet leaving its ultimate purpose just out of reach. As we stand among the weathered stones, tracing the patterns they form against the horizon, the questions endure. What other knowledge did the builders possess that has since vanished? How much of their culture, their understanding of the world, remains encoded in these stones? Stonehenge waits silently, monumental and inscrutable, inviting us to look, to wonder, and to accept that some mysteries of the past endure, challenging our understanding while inspiring awe. As the sun dips behind the weathered stones of Stonehenge, leaving shadows that stretch across the ancient plains of Wiltshire, our exploration of human ingenuity and mystery turns once again to the east, back to the Anatolian highlands of Turkey. Here, nestled atop a gentle hill in the southeastern province of Şanlıurfa, lies a site that challenges everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. Gobekli Tepe. At first glance, Gobekli Tepe is deceptively simple. A series of low, circular mounds rising from the arid landscape, their contours barely noticeable from a distance. Yet as one approaches, the ground reveals its secrets. Massive stone pillars, some shaped like the letter T, rise from the earth, etched with enigmatic carvings of animals, abstract symbols, and human-like forms. The pillars are arranged in concentric circles, some nearly 6 meters tall, their sheer weight and scale a testament to extraordinary effort. The carvings are vivid and precise, depicting foxes, snakes, scorpions, boars, and birds, each image imbued with a lifelike energy that seems to animate the stone itself. Walking among these monoliths, one senses a narrative frozen in time, a story written in rock that predates the emergence of agriculture, cities, and written language. Gobekli Tepe has been dated to roughly 9,600 to 9,500 BCE, making it over 11,000 years old, older than Stonehenge by nearly 6,000 years, and predating the pyramids of Egypt by millennia. Its construction would have required sophisticated organization, logistics, and labor, yet the society that built it was still hunter-gatherer in lifestyle, without evidence of permanent settlements or the infrastructure typically associated with monumental architecture. How could a pre-agricultural community carve, transport, and erect stones of such size and weight? What inspired them to devote years, possibly generations, to this endeavor? The purpose of Gobekli Tepe remains equally enigmatic. Mainstream archaeology generally views it as a ritual or ceremonial site, perhaps a sanctuary where early humans gathered for religious or social purposes. The arrangement of the pillars, with some carved with arms and hands, while others bear abstract motifs, suggests symbolic meaning, possibly representing cosmological ideas, shamanistic visions, or mythic narratives. Yet there are no dwellings, no evidence of long-term habitation, and no contemporaneous written records. Who commissioned this construction, and what beliefs motivated such monumental effort in a society still dependent on foraging? The carvings themselves provoke further questions. Animals dominate the iconography, often rendered in dynamic poses, suggesting observation and understanding of the natural world. Could these images have served as totems, protective symbols, or mnemonic devices for oral traditions? Some researchers speculate that the abstract motifs represent a proto-writing system, a means of encoding knowledge, ritual, or astronomy before the advent of written language. Others propose more speculative ideas, suggesting Gobekli Tepe may have functioned as a center of early knowledge, a repository for collective human experience in the form of stone. The engineering of Gobekli Tepe is equally extraordinary. Pillars are precisely cut and positioned to form circular enclosures, with central stones flanked by smaller uprights, sometimes connected by horizontal lintels. The leveling, alignment, and structural integrity indicate advanced planning and coordination, achieved without wheeled vehicles, draft animals, or metal tools. Experimental archaeologists have demonstrated possible methods using flint tools, ropes, and simple levers, yet the effort required remains staggering. Could this site represent knowledge lost to time, a sophisticated approach to architecture and organization unknown in any other hunter-gatherer context? The broader landscape around Gobekli Tepe adds to its mystique. Dozens of other mounds, some partially excavated, suggest that this was not a single sanctuary but part of a wider sacred geography, perhaps a network of ceremonial centers scattered across the Anatolian plains. The repetition of circular enclosures, the consistency of pillar shapes, and the placement of carvings imply a shared cultural or ritual knowledge. How far did this knowledge extend, and how much of it has been erased by millennia of environmental and human activity? Speculative interpretations naturally arise from the site's sheer audacity. Some suggest Gobekli Tepe represents a lost chapter in human history, evidence that complex religious and social structures preceded agriculture rather than following it. Could it indicate that belief and communal ritual were driving forces in the development of settled life, shaping society in ways that archaeology is only beginning to recognize? Others entertain the possibility of even more extraordinary influences, noting the precise layout, geometric patterns, and symbolic imagery as hinting at a sophisticated understanding of spatial organization or astronomy. While these remain conjectural, they underscore the awe inspired by this enigmatic site. Walking among the pillars today, the experience is profoundly humbling. Each stone is both monumental and intimate, towering yet approachable, carved by human hands, yet resonating with timeless mystery. The wind carries the echoes of a distant past, and the silence between the pillars is thick with the weight of unknown rituals, gatherings, and intentions. One can almost sense the hands that shaped the stone, the voices that narrated stories, the gatherings of people who made the desert bloom with sacred architecture. Yet for all its majesty and antiquity, Gobekli Tepe guards its secrets closely. Who designed these enclosures, and why? What knowledge or beliefs drove people without agriculture or permanent settlements to construct a site of such scale and permanence? How much of their culture, technology, or cosmology has been lost, leaving only stone as witness? And what might still remain buried beneath the mounds, hidden beneath layers of soil and millennia of history, waiting to reshape our understanding of human civilization? Gobekli Tepe, like Stonehenge, Derinkuyu, or Mount Baigong, exists at the boundary between the known and the incomprehensible. It reminds us that even the earliest humans, far removed from modern technology, could envision and create monuments that defy easy explanation. It challenges assumptions, inspires wonder, and invites reflection on the origins of belief, organization, and human ingenuity. As we stand among these ancient pillars, silent yet resonant, one cannot help but wonder, what other extraordinary feats of knowledge and vision lie hidden in the depths of prehistory, waiting for discovery? Gobekli Tepe endures, monumental and enigmatic, a timeless testament to human curiosity, devotion, and the mysteries that continue to echo across the millennia. The carvings themselves provoke further questions. Animals dominate the iconography, often rendered in dynamic poses, suggesting observation and understanding of the natural world. Could these images have served as totems, protective symbols, or mnemonic devices for oral traditions? Some researchers speculate that the abstract motifs represent a proto-writing system, a means of encoding knowledge, ritual, or astronomy before the advent of written language. Others propose more speculative ideas, suggesting Gobekli Tepe may have functioned as a center of early knowledge, a repository for collective human experience in the form of stone. The engineering of Gobekli Tepe is equally extraordinary. Pillars are precisely cut and positioned to form circular enclosures, with central stones flanked by smaller uprights, sometimes connected by horizontal lintels. The leveling, alignment, and structural integrity indicate advanced planning and coordination, achieved without wheeled vehicles, draft animals, or metal tools. Experimental archaeologists have demonstrated possible methods using flint tools, ropes, and simple levers, yet the effort required remains staggering. Could this site represent knowledge lost to time, a sophisticated approach to architecture and organization unknown in any other hunter-gatherer context? The broader landscape around Gobekli Tepe adds to its mystique. Dozens of other mounds, some partially excavated, suggest that this was not a single sanctuary but part of a wider sacred geography, perhaps a network of ceremonial centers scattered across the Anatolian plains. The repetition of circular enclosures, the consistency of pillar shapes, and the placement of carvings imply a shared cultural or ritual knowledge. How far did this knowledge extend, and how much of it has been erased by millennia of environmental and human activity? Speculative interpretations naturally arise from the site's sheer audacity. Some suggest Gobekli Tepe represents a lost chapter in human history, evidence that complex religious and social structures preceded agriculture rather than following it. Could it indicate that belief and communal ritual were driving forces in the development of settled life, shaping society in ways that archaeology is only beginning to recognize? Others entertain the possibility of even more extraordinary influences, noting the precise layout, geometric patterns, and symbolic imagery as hinting at a sophisticated understanding of spatial organization or astronomy. While these remain conjectural, they underscore the awe inspired by this enigmatic site. Walking among the pillars today, the experience is profoundly humbling. Each stone is both monumental and intimate, towering yet approachable, carved by human hands, yet resonating with timeless mystery. The wind carries the echoes of a distant past, and the silence between the pillars is thick with the weight of unknown rituals, gatherings, and intentions. One can almost sense the hands that shaped the stone, the voices that narrated stories, the gatherings of people who made the desert bloom with sacred architecture. Yet for all its majesty and antiquity, Gobekli Tepe guards its secrets closely. Who designed these enclosures, and why? What knowledge or beliefs drove people without agriculture or permanent settlements to construct a site of such scale and permanence? How much of their culture, technology, or cosmology has been lost, leaving only stone as witness? And what might still remain buried beneath the mounds, hidden beneath layers of soil and millennia of history, waiting to reshape our understanding of human civilization? Gobekli Tepe, like Stonehenge, Derinkuyu, or Mount Baigong, exists at the boundary between the known and the incomprehensible. It reminds us that even the earliest humans, far removed from modern technology, could envision and create monuments that defy easy explanation. It challenges assumptions, inspires wonder, and invites reflection on the origins of belief, organization, and human ingenuity. As we stand among these ancient pillars, silent yet resonant, one cannot help but wonder, what other extraordinary feats of knowledge and vision lie hidden in the depths of prehistory, waiting for discovery? Gobekli Tepe endures, monumental and enigmatic, a timeless testament to human curiosity, devotion, and the mysteries that continue to echo across the millennia. Holding one of these objects or observing it in a museum collection, the sense of wonder is immediate. Its geometric perfection, tactile symmetry, and enigmatic design convey both technical skill and a subtle sophistication. Each knob and hole hints at a function, a method, a thought process now beyond reach. One can imagine the hands that shaped the bronze, the techniques employed to achieve exact symmetry, and the curiosity that must have inspired its creation. And yet, as with so many artifacts of the past, the answers remain elusive. Roman dodecahedrons, like Gobekli Tepe, Stonehenge, or the Derinkuyu underground city, occupy a space between human craftsmanship and enduring mystery. They remind us that even a civilization as documented and studied as Rome left behind objects whose purpose resists explanation. They challenge our assumptions about the completeness of historical knowledge and invite reflection on what ordinary objects might have meant to those who created and used them. For now, the dodecahedrons sit in museum cases, archaeological reports, and private collections, silent witnesses to a forgotten function. Were they practical instruments, sacred tools, or objects of playful curiosity? Did they serve the empire, the individual, or an unknown ritual? How many remain buried, waiting to illuminate their secrets? And how much of Roman ingenuity is hidden in plain sight, obscured by the passage of time? The Roman dodecahedrons remain a puzzle, small yet profound, inviting us to contemplate the intersection of geometry, craftsmanship, and mystery. They challenge us to consider the ingenuity of the past and to acknowledge that some creations, no matter how carefully examined, continue to speak more in questions than answers. And as we leave these enigmatic objects behind, one is compelled to wonder, what other secrets of the ancient world remain locked in form, waiting for discovery and interpretation their true purpose still hidden beneath the centuries? As the compact precision of the Roman dodecahedrons lingers in our minds, we shift our gaze far to the south, across the expanse of the Americas, to the arid coastal plains of southern Peru. Here, stretching across hundreds of square kilometers of desert, lies one of the most enigmatic and awe-inspiring archaeological mysteries ever discovered: the Nazca Lines. At first glance, the Nazca Desert appears empty, an austere landscape of ochre sands, scattered rocks, and low scrub. But when viewed from the air or surrounding foothills, an astonishing transformation occurs. The flat plains reveal a network of immense geoglyphs, lines, geometric shapes, spirals, trapezoids, and extraordinary figures of animals, plants, and even humanoid forms, etched with startling precision into the desert floor. Monkeys, hummingbirds, spiders, condors, and whales emerge from the earth, their forms stretching hundreds of meters in length, some extending more than half a kilometer. These images are not randomly scattered. They are deliberate, measured, and strikingly harmonious, suggesting planning, intention, and an understanding of scale that continues to puzzle archaeologists. The Nazca Lines are generally dated between 500 BCE and 500 CE, created by the Nazca culture using a simple technique: clearing the reddish-brown surface stones to expose the lighter, sandy soil beneath. Despite the apparent simplicity of this method, the scale and precision of the figures raise profound questions. How did a culture without the advantage of aerial observation or modern surveying equipment create designs that maintain proportional accuracy over such vast distances? How were straight lines maintained for kilometers, sometimes traversing uneven terrain, hills, and valleys without deviation? Mainstream explanations have proposed practical and ceremonial functions. Many researchers suggest that the lines served as astronomical markers, aligning with solstices, equinoxes, or other celestial events to aid in agricultural planning or ritual observances. Others propose they were pilgrimage routes, pathways connecting sacred sites, or offerings to deities associated with water and fertility in an arid environment. Evidence of small ceremonial platforms along some lines supports the idea of ritual procession. Yet none of these explanations fully accounts for the astonishing variety and scale of the figures, or for the effort required to create images that are visible only from a height. Some of the most compelling enigmas lie in the figurative geoglyphs themselves. The depictions of animals are often stylized but remarkably accurate, reflecting careful observation of local wildlife. Certain figures, like the immense condor or the delicate hummingbird, capture movement and proportion with an elegance that implies sophisticated planning and perhaps symbolic meaning. Others, like humanoid or abstract forms, defy straightforward interpretation, hinting at myth, ritual, or storytelling, whose significance may have been fully understood only within the context of Nazca belief systems. What narratives, myths, or cosmologies were encoded into these lines? And how much has been lost to time? The sheer scale of some geoglyphs adds further intrigue. Some figures are larger than many modern buildings, yet there is no evidence that Nazca artists viewed their work from above. This raises questions about the techniques employed. Did they use grids, stakes, ropes, or other surveying methods? How did they maintain proportion across hundreds of meters without aerial perspective? The precision suggests not just artistic vision, but careful mathematics and planning, a sophistication that challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian capabilities. Speculative theories naturally emerge, fueled by the lines' visibility only from elevation and their enigmatic symbolism. Some propose that they functioned as messages to the gods or celestial beings, visual prayers etched into the earth. Others suggest connections to water cults or fertility rituals, given the arid environment and the Nazca's dependence on intricate aqueducts and water management. A few fringe hypotheses even posit that the lines were created as signals or markers for extraterrestrial visitors, though such ideas remain outside mainstream scholarship. The enduring fascination lies in the intersection of artistry, science, and mystery. The lines are undeniably human-made, yet their meaning and method continue to defy easy explanation. The landscape itself preserves the geoglyphs in astonishing condition. The region's dryness, minimal rainfall, and stable winds have kept many lines intact for over a millennium, allowing modern observers to experience them much as the Nazca did. Yet preservation also underscores their fragility. Shifting sands, erosion, and human interference threaten these remarkable markers of history. The lines are simultaneously timeless and vulnerable, silent witnesses to an ancient civilization's ingenuity and worldview. Walking or flying over the Nazca Lines today, the effect is profound. The flat desert seems transformed, revealing vast patterns that demand reflection on scale, intention, and the human capacity for abstraction. The lines are not just decoration. They are statements, expressions of thought, belief, and mastery over the landscape itself. Each straight line, geometric figure, and animal depiction is evidence of careful observation, planning, and execution, yet their ultimate purpose remains tantalizingly out of reach. The Nazca Lines, like the Roman Dodecahedrons, Gobekli Tepe, or Stonehenge, occupy a space between known history and enduring mystery. They challenge assumptions about the capabilities of pre-modern societies and remind us that human ingenuity often surpasses the limits of our understanding. How much knowledge has been lost? How much meaning remains encoded in these vast lines, waiting for discovery or interpretation? For now, the lines stretch silently across the desert, visible only from the sky, yet resonating with the presence of the people who labored to create them. They invite reflection, curiosity, and wonder. What other messages, purposes, or knowledge might remain hidden in plain sight, etched into the landscape, waiting for someone to perceive them? The Nazca Lines endure as an open question, monumental in scale and eternal in mystery, a reminder that some human achievements are meant not merely to be understood, but to inspire awe across millennia. As the vast desert plains of Nazca recede from view, leaving behind the monumental lines etched by hands millennia ago, our journey returns once more to the lands of ancient Egypt, where the Nile has carved both civilization and mystery. Amid the towering columns, darkened sanctuaries, and hieroglyph-covered walls of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, there lies a relief that has puzzled scholars and captivated enthusiasts alike for decades: the so-called Dendera Light. At first glance, the relief is intricate and enigmatic, a series of carved images depicting elongated bulb-like shapes held by figures in traditional Egyptian dress. The bulbs taper into coiled, snake-like forms, often resting atop lotus flowers, with connecting lines that reach toward cylindrical or rectangular objects above. The carvings are executed with the meticulous precision characteristic of Egyptian art, every line deliberate, every curve meaningful. The scene exudes a quiet power, as if the figures and objects captured within the stone were alive with knowledge, energy, or purpose. The relief is found in a crypt beneath the roof of the temple, part of a series of depictions illustrating Egyptian myths, creation stories, and divine powers. Mainstream Egyptology interprets the imagery as symbolic. The bulbs represent lotus flowers emitting a tongue of light, or the sacred creation of life energy by the gods. The serpent-like forms are often seen as the divine Urias, emblematic of protection, rebirth, and cosmic order. In this reading, the relief is deeply spiritual, a visual theology carved into stone to communicate divine power and mythological narratives to the faithful. Yet the imagery has invited alternative interpretations, some more speculative, that see in the relief something more technologically suggestive. Certain observers note that the shapes resemble a modern electric bulb or filament, suggesting, in an almost uncanny way, an understanding of principles that would not be formally realized for millennia. Could these carvings depict some form of ancient knowledge of energy, light, or power? Were the Egyptians encoding esoteric scientific concepts in their art, or is the resemblance purely coincidental, an optical echo interpreted through a modern lens? The architectural context of the relief adds layers of intrigue. The Temple of Hathor, built during the Ptolemaic period around 50 BCE, is itself aligned with celestial and geographical markers, containing chambers dedicated to ritual, astrology, and divine observation. The crypt where the relief is found is dark, enclosed, and removed from the sunlit courtyards above, suggesting that its images were intended to be viewed by a select few, priests, initiates, or visitors engaged in ceremonial acts. Could the crypt's environment imply a functional aspect, perhaps related to light, energy, or ritual illumination? Or was it purely a symbolic space, meant to convey mystery and sacred power through imagery alone? Analysis of the relief's composition further deepens the question. The bulbs often appear attached to long, cord-like structures leading to what some have interpreted as vessels or capacitors, suggesting an electrical circuit in modern analogy. The Egyptian iconography, however, clearly links these forms to lotus flowers, snakes, and divine hieroglyphs. Were the artists and priests illustrating a spiritual process through metaphorical forms? Or could they have been encoding functional knowledge in ways we no longer understand? The ambiguity lies in the interplay between symbolic representation and material reality, a balance the Egyptians mastered in countless temples and tombs. Scholars have explored a variety of mainstream interpretations. Some see the relief as representing the interplay between divine energy and earthly creation, others as a symbolic depiction of light emanating from sacred sources, the illumination of knowledge itself. Yet these interpretations, while credible, do not fully resolve the fascination it holds for those who see in the shapes a startling resemblance to technology. Why would ancient artisans carve images so evocative of modern electrical devices, if not to encode or memorialize knowledge? Is it coincidence, a reflection of human perception searching for patterns, or evidence of forgotten understanding? Walking through the Temple of Hathor today, one is struck by the serenity and craftsmanship of the crypt. The air is cool, still, and almost reverent. Shadows fall across the carved reliefs, emphasizing the curves, bulbs, and coiled forms, bringing them to life in a way that photographs and diagrams cannot fully capture. The Dendera light seems simultaneously ancient and familiar, mystical yet hauntingly modern. Standing here, one cannot help but sense the weight of human curiosity, ingenuity, and the desire to represent the invisible forces that shape existence, whether spiritual, natural, or technological. The relief, like so many mysteries explored on this journey, from Gobekli Tepe to the Nazca Lines, from Roman Dodecahedrons to Derinkuyu, resists simple categorization. It occupies a liminal space between art, religion, science, and myth, inviting contemplation rather than definitive answers. Its creators, working over 2 millennia ago, communicated in a language of symbol, metaphor, and divine abstraction, leaving us to interpret intent from the distance of centuries. What knowledge, if any, did they wish to preserve? What stories, theories, or teachings have been lost to time, leaving only stone as testimony? The Dendera light reminds us that human creativity often bridges the realms of the known and the unknowable. It challenges us to consider not just what ancient civilizations understood materially, but how they conceptualized forces beyond ordinary perception, light, energy, and the divine itself. Could it be that some ancient knowledge has been obscured in plain sight, waiting for interpretation or rediscovery? As we leave the hushed crypt of Dendera, the questions linger. Were these reliefs purely symbolic, Or do they hint at insights we have yet to comprehend? How much of human understanding has been encoded in metaphor, allegory, and sacred art, only to be forgotten across millennia? The Dendera light endures as a silent testament to both the ingenuity and the mysteries of ancient Egypt, inviting us to reflect, to wonder, and to search for what might still lie hidden in the shadows of history. As the shadows of the Dendera crypt fade behind us and the carved reliefs of gods and serpents recede into memory, our journey of mystery and ancient ingenuity takes us eastward, across the rugged mountains and fertile plains of South Asia, to a civilization that flourished over 4,000 years ago, yet still guards its secrets. Mohenjo-Daro. Emerging from the flat, dusty landscape of the Indus Valley, the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro stretch like a forgotten city frozen in time. Brick streets, straight and wide, run in precise grids, intersecting at right angles with uncanny regularity. The remnants of rectangular buildings, granaries, and bathhouses reveal a level of urban planning astonishing for the 3rd millennium BCE. At the heart of the city lies the Great Bath, a large, watertight pool constructed of baked bricks and bitumen, its edges lined with steps descending into its depths. Even today, the scale and sophistication of the city's architecture convey a civilization with mastery over materials, hydrology, and communal space, yet a civilization that vanished almost entirely, leaving behind questions that continue to elude modern scholars. Mohenjo-Daro, along with its sister city Harappa, is part of the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the world's earliest urban cultures. Archaeological studies date the city to roughly 2,500 to 1,900 BCE, contemporary with the civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Yet, unlike those societies, Mohenjo-Daro seems to have lacked palaces, monumental temples, or inscriptions detailing rulers or dynasties. Its uniformity suggests social organization, but the absence of overt symbols of authority challenges our assumptions about how early urban societies functioned. Who governed the city, and by what means were order, trade, and urban planning maintained without clear hierarchies documented in writing? Speaking of writing, the Indus script adds another layer of mystery. Hundreds of inscribed seals and tablets have been discovered across Mohenjo-Daro, yet the script remains undeciphered. Short, repeated symbols hint at a complex system of communication, possibly accounting, ownership, or ritual, but without a Rosetta Stone to decode it, the messages are lost to us. Could these symbols contain information about the city's administration, its spiritual life, or even technology? And what does their undeciphered nature tell us about the knowledge and literacy of its inhabitants, who constructed one of the earliest urban networks known to humanity? The engineering of Mohenjo-Daro further defies expectations for its era. The city's drainage system, a network of covered brick channels connected to individual houses, represents an early sophistication in sanitation unparalleled in contemporary societies. Each household could dispose of waste into public drains, which were carefully graded to ensure flow, leading into larger channels and ultimately away from the city. Combined with standardized baked bricks and remarkably uniform construction, the city reflects knowledge of civil engineering and urban planning that remains impressive even by modern standards. How did a society without metal tools, formalized engineering schools, or written manuals achieve such precision? The city's abrupt abandonment around 1900 BCE introduces another profound mystery. Some suggest environmental changes, floods, river course shifts, or drought, forced the population to disperse. Others propose invasion or internal societal collapse. Yet the archaeological record provides no definitive evidence for violence, famine, or epidemic on a scale sufficient to explain the city's disappearance. Did the people of Mohenjo-Daro simply migrate, taking their knowledge with them, leaving brick streets and buildings to decay? Or were there other factors, perhaps social or religious, that compelled them to abandon one of the most advanced cities of its age? Speculative theories have arisen, inspired by the city's precision and sudden disappearance. Some suggest lost technology or knowledge that allowed such urban sophistication may have vanished with the civilization, leaving later societies to rediscover basic concepts independently. Others explore astronomical or ritualistic interpretations of the city's layout, proposing alignments with stars, cardinal directions, or symbolic cosmology. Could Mohenjo-Daro have been not just a functional city, but a representation of cosmic or religious order, encoded in brick and mortar? These hypotheses remain largely speculative, yet they highlight the enduring fascination this city holds. Walking among the ruins today, the experience is haunting and humbling. The flat streets stretch into silence, punctuated by crumbling walls and the outlines of houses where families once lived, cooked, and gathered. The Great Bath still evokes wonder, its steps worn but intact, suggesting ritual or communal significance. One can almost hear the echoes of daily life, the rhythms of commerce, water flowing through drains, and conversations in a language now lost. Mohenjo-Daro's careful order, combined with its mysteries, conveys both mastery and impermanence, a civilization simultaneously extraordinary and enigmatic. Like Gobekli Tepe, the Nazca Lines, and the Dendera Light, Mohenjo-Daro sits at the intersection of human achievement and unresolved questions. It challenges assumptions about the trajectory of civilization, urban organization, and technological capability. How did its people achieve such precision and planning without writing or apparent centralized authority? Why did they leave so suddenly, and what knowledge disappeared with them, and how much of their culture, belief, and science remains hidden beneath layers of earth, waiting to be rediscovered? Mohenjo-Daro reminds us that human history is not always linear, that knowledge can emerge, flourish, and vanish, leaving only tantalizing traces. The city invites reflection, wonder, and humility. Even societies of unparalleled sophistication can slip from our understanding, leaving questions that endure across millennia. What other secrets might still lie buried, not just beneath Mohenjo-Daro, but throughout the forgotten landscapes of early civilization, waiting to illuminate mysteries we have yet to imagine? As the sun sets over the Indus Plains and the silent streets of Mohenjo-Daro fade from our imagination, we turn once more toward the Mediterranean, to a small island whose limestone bedrock conceals one of the most extraordinary and enigmatic monuments of the prehistoric world, the Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni on Malta. From above, the Hypogeum reveals nothing of its secrets. It sits modestly beneath the modern city of Paola, concealed under layers of soil and urban development, almost invisible to the casual eye. Yet once inside, the world changes completely. Descending through a narrow passageway, one enters a labyrinth of subterranean chambers, carved entirely from the island's soft Globigerina limestone. The air is cool, dry, and heavy with the weight of millennia, carrying a faint, almost sacred stillness. Each step echoes softly, the sound bouncing off curved walls and arched ceilings, hinting at a careful understanding of acoustics. The underground complex stretches over 3 levels, interconnected by corridors, chambers, and niches, some so low that one must stoop to proceed, others vast and cathedral-like in scale. The Hypogeum dates to roughly 3,300 to 3000 BCE, making it older than the Egyptian pyramids and contemporary with the earliest European megalithic sites. Its construction would have required extraordinary skill, patience, and coordination, yet it was achieved without metal tools, cranes, or advanced technology. Every wall, corridor, and chamber was painstakingly carved by hand, shaped to precise dimensions and carefully aligned. Mainstream archaeology generally interprets the Hypogeum as a necropolis, a burial site for the island's prehistoric population, with chambers used to house the remains of thousands of individuals. Human bones, funerary objects, and pottery attest to this function, suggesting a complex society with ritualized approaches to death and remembrance. Yet the hypogeum is more than a mere cemetery. Certain chambers, such as the oracle room, exhibit remarkable acoustic properties. A human voice, even spoken softly, resonates throughout the chamber with a clarity and amplification that seems almost magical. How did its builders understand the interplay of stone, shape, and sound so precisely? Was this acoustic phenomenon a deliberate feature, intended for ritual or communication, or an incidental byproduct of the hypogeum's geometry? The intentionality is difficult to ascertain, yet the effect is undeniable, a haunting echo that transcends millennia. The architecture itself evokes both ingenuity and symbolism. Many chambers feature smooth, curved walls and circular niches, suggesting not only practical design but also a sophisticated aesthetic sensibility. Certain spaces seem intentionally proportioned, their dimensions precise, their carvings evocative of spiritual or cosmological ideas. Some researchers suggest that the hypogeum's levels may represent different stages of existence or spiritual planes, a subterranean journey mirroring life, death, and the afterlife. Could this be the case, or are we projecting modern interpretations onto an ancient mind whose worldview remains largely inaccessible? The materials within the hypogeum add to the mystery. Pottery, figurines, and statuettes of the so-called fat ladies, curvaceous depictions of women, have been found throughout the chambers, interpreted as fertility symbols or deities. Yet their exact purpose remains uncertain. Were they objects of veneration, talismans for the dead, or markers of social status? And why were they placed so deliberately within the labyrinthine corridors, in some cases in niches inaccessible without careful maneuvering? The answers are speculative, but they hint at a society with layered ritual knowledge and symbolic practices. Some of the most perplexing questions involve the hypogeum's purpose beyond burial. Could it have functioned as a ceremonial or spiritual center, a subterranean temple where the living communicated with the dead or invoked cosmic forces? Certain alignments of chambers suggest awareness of celestial events, with openings and corridors oriented in relation to the winter solstice sunrise. If so, what cosmological knowledge guided these decisions, and how was it encoded into the stone by a society without writing? The precision and intention implied by these features challenge assumptions about prehistoric capabilities, suggesting a depth of understanding that is still not fully appreciated. Explorations of the hypogeum are necessarily cautious. The delicate limestone and archaeological value limit extensive excavation. Yet each passage and chamber offers tantalizing glimpses of lost knowledge, of rituals, of a worldview rendered in stone. One can imagine the careful hands chiseling walls, the hushed footsteps of priests or initiates, the flickering light of torches illuminating figures carved from limestone. The space seems alive with echoes of ceremony and reverence, a tangible connection to a society whose thoughts, fears, and beliefs have otherwise faded. The Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni, like Mohenjo-Daro, the Nazca Lines, and the Dendera reliefs, challenges our understanding of what ancient humans were capable of achieving. It is a testament to ingenuity, spiritual complexity, and the human drive to manipulate space, sound, and form in ways that transcend immediate necessity. And yet, for all we know, it still holds secrets. Chambers unexcavated, symbolic meanings lost, rituals forgotten, knowledge that might illuminate not only prehistoric Malta, but the broader story of human creativity. As we emerge from the subterranean labyrinth, the sun warms our faces, contrasting sharply with the hypogeum's cool, quiet darkness. And yet, the questions remain. Why was such effort devoted to carving a city beneath the earth? How did these early Maltese understand acoustics, geometry, and ritual symbolism so precisely? What other mysteries lie buried within these chambers, waiting to be uncovered or understood? The Hypogeum endures as both monument and mystery, a subterranean testament to human skill, belief, and imagination. It invites contemplation, humility, and wonder. That even in the absence of written records, human societies could construct spaces of profound meaning, encoded in stone and shadow, echoing across millennia. And in those echoes, we are reminded that the past is never fully silent, if only we know how to listen. As the cool, silent corridors of Ħal-Saflieni fade behind us, leaving their echoes of ritual and reverence, our journey moves across the Atlantic to the vast mesas and deep canyons of the American Southwest. Here, among the red rock cliffs and arid deserts, lie the ruins of a civilization whose story is as compelling as it is enigmatic, the Anasazi, or ancestral Puebloans. And yet, for all the stone dwellings, cliffside communities, and ceremonial kivas they left behind, one question has haunted archaeologists and historians for centuries. Why did they vanish? From a distance, the landscape is breathtaking. Sheer sandstone cliffs, sprawling mesas, and deep, shadowed canyons stretch into the horizon. Perched upon ledges and tucked within alcoves, the remnants of Anasazi architecture emerge. A complex network of multi-storied dwellings, ceremonial kivas, and storage rooms hewn from stone and adobe. Sites such as Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon, and Bandelier National Monument evoke awe, not only for their scale, but for the skill required to carve and construct such settlements in unforgiving terrain. Stone walls rise with precision, wooden beams support roofs, intricate roadways connect distant communities. And yet, despite this ingenuity, by the late 13th century, these thriving communities were abandoned, leaving behind only the silent ruins. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Anasazi flourished between roughly 900 and 1300 CE. They developed complex societies with trade networks stretching hundreds of miles, astronomical alignments in their great houses, and ceremonial structures reflecting spiritual sophistication. The construction of Chaco Canyon's great houses, some with hundreds of rooms and towering walls, demonstrates an advanced understanding of engineering, urban planning, and social organization. Their communities were tightly knit, their survival adapted to the harsh, arid environment. And yet, all of it was left behind, sometimes with belongings intact, suggesting sudden, or at least deliberate, abandonment. Mainstream explanations have long focused on environmental and social pressures. Prolonged droughts, depletion of arable land, and resource scarcity may have forced migration. Evidence from tree rings and sediment cores indicates that the region experienced significant climate variability during the 12th and 13th centuries, with periods of severe drought coinciding with the final occupation of Chaco Canyon and other sites. Social factors, including warfare, political fragmentation, or internal strife, may have compounded environmental stress, prompting relocation to more sustainable areas. But these explanations, while plausible, cannot fully account for the scale and abruptness of the migration, nor the cultural cohesion that endured despite displacement. The Anasazi's sudden disappearance from their monumental cliff dwellings also inspires more speculative questions. Were these migrations guided by visions, omens, or spiritual instruction? Did they possess knowledge of environmental patterns, long-term climate shifts, or other ecological indicators that compelled them to relocate before catastrophe struck? Some researchers point to the alignment of certain structures with solstices and celestial events, suggesting that astronomical observation may have informed both ritual and practical decisions. Could the same cosmic awareness that shaped their ceremonial architecture also have influenced the timing and direction of their migration? The cliff dwellings themselves offer both answers and further mysteries. Archaeologists have documented evidence of daily life preserved in situ: pottery, woven textiles, stone tools, and even food remains. Yet, the absence of human remains in many sites complicates interpretations. Why leave behind well-constructed homes, granaries, and ceremonial spaces without taking them with you? Some sites show evidence of careful dismantling or organized departure, while others seem abandoned hastily. Were these choices ritualized, dictated by belief, or driven solely by necessity? Another compelling puzzle is the fate of the Anasazi after departure. Descendant communities, such as the Hopi and Zuni, trace cultural, linguistic, and spiritual lineage to these ancestral Puebloans, yet direct records of the migration are scarce. Oral traditions speak in metaphor and allegory, providing insight but not concrete timelines or explanations. How much knowledge of their own history did these communities retain, and how much has been lost to centuries of oral transmission and upheaval? The disappearance of the Anasazi is therefore not merely a story of abandoned structures. It is also a story of memory, knowledge, and the fragility of historical continuity. Speculative theories, while outside mainstream archaeology, highlight the enduring fascination with the Anasazi mystery. Some suggest that sudden environmental shifts were so extreme that they were interpreted as divine warnings, prompting immediate relocation. Others posit social or ritual imperatives where entire communities moved as a spiritual imperative, guided by prophetic insight or collective vision. Even extraterrestrial hypotheses have been proposed, inspired by the astronomical precision and mysterious roadways extending from Chaco Canyon, though such ideas remain outside scholarly consensus. The fascination lies less in the explanations themselves than in the recognition that the Anasazi story resists simple closure. Walking among the ruins today, the impact is profound. The sheer cliffs, meticulously aligned dwellings, and silent kivas evoke both awe and melancholy. One can imagine the rhythms of daily life: the scent of fires, the sound of footsteps on stone, voices in ceremonial chambers, suddenly silenced as families packed their lives and departed into unknown territory. The landscape bears the imprint of human ingenuity, adaptation, and ritual, yet its emptiness leaves questions hanging in the air like dust motes illuminated by the sun. The Anasazi Disappearance, like Mohenjo-Daro, the Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni, and the Nazca Lines, underscores a fundamental truth about human history. Societies can create wonders of lasting ingenuity and beauty, yet still vanish, leaving the world to puzzle over the reasons. How did the Anasazi navigate environmental, social, and spiritual challenges to reach such a remarkable level of urban and ceremonial sophistication? Why did they leave so suddenly, and what knowledge or traditions were carried forward, or lost entirely, in their migration? As we gaze across the mesas and cliffs of the Southwest, it becomes clear that the story of the Anasazi is not one with easy answers. Their vanished cities, like the echoing corridors of Malta or the monumental lines of Peru, speak to human creativity, resilience, and the limits of understanding. And in that silence, we are invited to reflect, to wonder, and to acknowledge that some mysteries of the ancient world endure not only in stone, but in absence, challenging us to consider what might still be hidden in the sands, the canyons, and the collective memory of human civilization. As the sun rises over the fertile Bekaa Valley, the ancient ruins of Baalbek emerge from the morning mist like a ghostly sentinel of a bygone era. The remnants of massive stone structures, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain, seem almost impossibly monumental. Among them, the Trilithon stands as a silent testament to human ambition, or perhaps something even more enigmatic. 3 enormous blocks of limestone, each weighing an estimated 800 to 1,200 tons, sit in precise alignment at the base of what was intended to be the Temple of Jupiter. Their sheer size is staggering, even by modern engineering standards, and yet they rest in perfect order, as if placed with a meticulousness that defies explanation. The landscape around Baalbek is itself evocative. Rolling hills dotted with olive groves, the distant peaks of Lebanon framing the horizon, and the ruins' towering columns casting long shadows across the valley floor. It is a place of both natural beauty and profound mystery, where the scale of human endeavor seems almost otherworldly. Archaeologists and historians have long marveled at the technical skill required to quarry, transport, and position these stones, many of which are far larger than anything seen in most other ancient civilizations. Yet, despite centuries of study, the methods used remain the subject of speculation. How did ancient builders move blocks so massive, some over 70 feet in length, without the aid of cranes or modern machinery? How did they achieve the extraordinary precision visible in the joints and positioning of the stones? Mainstream explanations focus on ingenuity, human labor, and ingenuity with rudimentary tools. Some suggest that massive rollers, sledges, and levers combined with thousands of workers might have been sufficient to move the stones. There is evidence that the Romans, who later expanded the complex, had knowledge of advanced construction techniques and were capable of engineering feats that still inspire awe today. Yet, even within these frameworks, the question lingers. Could such a scale of precision and mass have truly been managed with only the technologies we know they possessed? As one studies the Trilithon more closely, more puzzling details emerge. The stones are not only vast, but some are quarried from a site nearly a mile away, yet moved across uneven terrain and placed with astonishing alignment. Geologists point out the rarity of such limestone blocks of uniform quality, and engineers note the meticulous leveling required to prevent uneven settling, no small feat when the individual stones are heavier than anything most modern cranes can lift. Every measurement, every carved surface, seems to hint at knowledge of forces and techniques that remain only partially understood today. Beyond the technical questions, the site itself hints at deeper mysteries. Baalbek has been continuously sacred for thousands of years, built atop layers of prior civilizations, each contributing their own reverence and structures. Some fringe theories suggest that the original builders of the Trilithon may have belonged to an unknown pre-Roman civilization, one capable of feats that surpass our historical imagination. Could there have been knowledge lost over the centuries, techniques never documented, or traditions erased by time? Or does the sheer audacity of these stones reflect a symbolic purpose, a deliberate statement of power, or an attempt to reach toward the heavens regardless of the practical challenges? Some researchers have speculated that the precision and alignment of the Trilithon may carry astronomical or energetic significance. They point to the careful orientation of the stones and the broader temple complex, which some argue may have been designed to align with celestial events, solstices, or particular star patterns. While these interpretations remain speculative, they add a layer of intrigue, suggesting that the builder's intentions may have extended beyond the purely architectural or functional. Could the placement of these stones have been part of a larger cosmic design, intended to connect the earth and sky in ways we cannot yet fully comprehend? The surrounding local folklore adds yet another dimension. Legends speak of giant builders and forces beyond human comprehension. Tales passed down through generations describe the stones as being too heavy for human hands, moved only with divine assistance or mysterious devices now lost to time. While such stories cannot be verified, they underscore the sense of awe and wonder that Baalbek continues to inspire. They remind us that even in a world dominated by rational explanations, the human imagination clings to the unknown, filling in the spaces where history falls silent. Walking along the base of the Trilithon today, it is difficult not to feel a sense of humility. These stones, ancient yet enduring, seem to speak across millennia, inviting observers to question the limits of human achievement and to consider the mysteries that remain unsolved. Every crack and contour, every shadow cast by the morning sun seems charged with a quiet energy, as though the stones themselves are waiting to reveal secrets we have not yet unlocked. They challenge our assumptions about history, engineering, and the possibilities of human and perhaps pre-human capability. And yet, for all our study, measurement, and theorizing, the Trilithon keeps its secrets close. There is no definitive answer to how these stones were moved, how they were placed, or what deeper purpose might lie behind their construction. Scholars can offer models and hypotheses, engineers can recreate plausible techniques, and historians can trace the evolution of the site. Still, a shroud of mystery persists, one that has captivated explorers, archaeologists, and dreamers for centuries. In the shadow of these colossal stones, one cannot help but pause and wonder. What truths lie buried in the stones themselves? Were they merely monumental architecture, or did they serve a purpose far beyond what we can now imagine? As the wind whispers across the valley and sunlight glances off the weathered surfaces, the Trilithon stands silent but unyielding, a riddle in stone, a testament to the enduring allure of the unexplained. It is a place that defies easy understanding, leaving an open question hanging in the air. What knowledge, lost to time or deliberately hidden, might still be waiting to reveal itself within the heart of Baalbek? As we leave the colossal stones of Baalbek behind, shifting from the ancient ruins of Lebanon to the meticulous precision of cartography, our attention turns to a delicate, time-worn artifact that has captured the curiosity of historians, navigators, and dreamers alike: the Piri Reis Map. Unfolded across a wooden table, its fragile parchment almost glows under the soft light, revealing an intricate tapestry of coastlines, islands, and continents, drawn with astonishing detail. Faded ink traces the contours of lands that, in the early 16th century, were still being charted and explored. It is not just a map. It is a window into the mind of a man who sought to capture the known world, and perhaps glimpses of lands thought impossible to reach. Created in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, the map is remarkable in both artistry and scope. Its edges are worn, the paper brittle, yet the precision of its lines is astonishing. The map depicts the western coasts of Europe and North Africa, the eastern coast of South America, and, most intriguingly, parts of Antarctica, long before the continent was officially discovered or mapped. Even more perplexing, portions of the coastline appear to show the landmass beneath ice, suggesting a level of geographical knowledge that should have been centuries beyond the time of its creation. Scholars have verified that Piri Reis compiled his map from a variety of sources, including older maps, sailors' charts, and perhaps now lost ancient records. Yet despite this, the map presents anomalies that continue to fuel debate and wonder. The artistry of the Piri Reis map is immediately evident. Mountains are drawn with jagged, almost sculptural lines, rivers flow with an elegance that seems to echo the landscapes themselves, and islands are represented with astonishing accuracy. Labels in Ottoman Turkish script identify coasts, ports, and regions, showing that Piri Reis not only had access to information, but also knew how to translate it into a visual language that was both functional and precise. Yet, as scholars examined the map more closely, questions began to multiply. How could a 16th century mapmaker depict certain coastlines with such accuracy, especially in areas that European explorers had not yet reached? How could features of Antarctica, a continent shrouded in ice and isolation, appear at all on a map centuries before its documented discovery? Mainstream historians emphasize that Piri Reis had access to ancient maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great or earlier, and to the accounts of sailors who had traversed oceans by instinct, observation, and painstaking trial and error. These sources, they argue, could account for much of the map's surprising accuracy. Moreover, errors and distortions in the map are consistent with the limitations of early navigational techniques. Yet even with these explanations, there remain anomalies that defy simple categorization. Certain landmasses are drawn in ways that correspond with modern knowledge of underwater topography. Coastlines appear to be mapped in ways that suggest not just observation, but an understanding of geological history, raising questions about the sources Piri Reis may have used. Some fringe theorists have suggested more extraordinary possibilities. Could Piri Reis have had access to knowledge passed down from a lost civilization? Could he have drawn upon maps created thousands of years before his time, preserving information that modern historians consider impossible? While such theories are speculative, they cannot be entirely dismissed, for the map continues to defy conventional explanations. Its anomalies invite us to question not only the limits of 16th-century cartography, but the very history of human exploration and understanding. The story of the map's discovery adds another layer to its mystique. In 1929, the map was found in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, part of an archival collection that had been largely forgotten. Researchers were immediately struck by its unusual content, and the more they studied it, the more questions emerged. Comparisons with modern maps revealed astonishing alignments, and the map's level of precision in certain areas, particularly in the depiction of South America, seemed to surpass what contemporary European cartographers could achieve. Some have pointed to the possibility that Piri Reis's map drew upon ancient maritime knowledge, now lost to time, preserved through generations of sailors and scholars who understood the world in ways we are only beginning to appreciate. Beyond the technical mysteries, there is something almost poetic about the Piri Reis Map. It represents humanity's endless desire to chart the unknown, to render the vastness of the world comprehensible. Every coastline, every notation, speaks of countless journeys, of sailors braving stormy seas, of explorers pushing beyond the horizon, and of a cartographer painstakingly piecing together fragments of knowledge into a coherent vision. Yet, despite this monumental effort, the map still holds secrets. It is a reminder that the world we think we know is often only a surface, and that beneath our understanding lies a deeper, more complex tapestry of history, geography, and discovery. As one traces the lines with a finger lingering over distant shores and frozen lands, it is impossible not to feel a sense of awe. The map, delicate and centuries old, seems almost alive with questions. How much knowledge has been lost, hidden in scrolls, maps, or oral traditions? Could civilizations far older than our own have glimpsed truths about the earth we are only now uncovering? And even if Piri Reis compiled the map from ancient sources, what does it reveal about the transmission of knowledge through time and the ingenuity of those who came before us? The Piri Reis Map remains a puzzle, a testament to human curiosity and ambition, and an invitation to wonder. It asks us to consider not only what was known in the 16th century, but also what might have been preserved from ages long before. As the sunlight catches the faded ink and the edges crumble slightly under careful handling, one cannot help but feel that, somewhere in its curves and contours, secrets endure. Secrets that challenge our understanding of history, of exploration, and of the world itself. And perhaps, as with so many enigmas from our past, the most profound question is not what the map shows, but what it conceals, waiting patiently for those who dare to look deeper.